Okay. Orange Man bad.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 29th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1090.
This is No Agenda.
Sitting in driver update hell and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's been raining cats and dogs, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, it was only 1 hour delay. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, the Zephyr beat us.
Of course the Zephyr beat us.
Although the Coastal was an hour late.
I've been in update hell. Well, actually, it was great this week, the updating. I did everything I needed to do, and then the very last moment, something broke. But that drive cloning you turned me on to, that was a fantastic experience.
Well, it doesn't sound like it if it broke something.
No, in general. I don't think the drive cloning broke anything because I upgraded everything. Every update, the drive. I think it's the drivers from the USB thing, Mark of the Unicorn. I think they screwed something up.
Well, that could be.
Yeah.
Well, the drive cloning thing worked well. If it had anything to do with a hardware mismatch, because I've done this a couple of times using this Acronis.
Yeah, it's
clone
a great
tool.
piece of software.
Yeah, and what it does is it clones the disk onto another disk, and then you flop the disks back and forth. And the new disk.
It's even better than that. You just plug it into a USB, you hit clone, and then you swap the disk, and it actually worked the first time. That was an amazing experience.
Yeah, boots, as if it was the original disk. Only now you either have more space or you got a faster drive.
I would say the boot process is 10 times faster. Everything's fast. It's just I should have ordered this thing with the solid state drives to begin with. And I can see if I run like the registry scanner, it used to be the drive would tap out before the CPU. Now the CPU goes to 100%, the disk is still at 80%. So that's where I see the big difference.
Yeah, it's fast. They're fast. They're faster.
I mean,
they're not as fast as the super fast ones, which you find in these, which are those little dinky cards that don't run on SATA. The non-SATA SSDs are probably twice as fast as the regular ones.
I did so much this week. I even upgraded the firmware in my hearing aids, which is a thing. And I heard the difference, which is even funnier. Anyway. Hey, the Apple guys were in town last night. The James, they're from the Apple Podcast HQ, and they always like to take a couple podcasters out to dinner.
Oh, okay.
And you might have liked. Well, first of all, you would like to be at one of these because it's it reminds me of when with MTV, you'd be in a city and then the corporate office at MTV would say, yeah, you got to have dinner with the local cable affiliate and his wife. It feels like kind of one of those deals where they're in Austin. I got to call up some podcasters. All right, well, let's get a couple of them around the table. And we went to Foreign and Domestic, which is a very small, can barely be called a restaurant up north. And I had the braised goat's neck pot pie, which was
that's about as disgusting a dish can be named.
And because
why don't they just call it a goat pot pie instead of goat's neck?
It was braised goat's neck, and it sounds completely like you don't want to order it. But the waitress, she was going on and on about it. I'll take it. It was an outstanding product. I wouldn't have known it was goat to start off with.
No, goat is very hard to identify. It tastes like doesn't taste like much of anything, actually. It's a very mild version of lamb. It's milder. People don't understand this, but goat actually tastes milder than mild lamb. If you don't like lamb or goat or sheep, which nobody eats in this country, you like goat. Goat is very mild.
Well, and as you know, here on the No Agenda show, we love goat.
We're goat-oriented.
We're very goat-oriented.
Goat-oriented.
So a couple things. Said, so what are you guys doing? We didn't talk about anything. And it was Dan Benjamin was there, and a new guy from Apple. And I guess they invited Lance Armstrong again, but Lance Armstrong doesn't come anymore, sends his producer. Okay. Nice guy, by the way. He was a very nice guy. So what's going on? They have native podcasts on the Apple Watch. They're very excited about that. And I had to ask, I said, how do I avoid getting deplatformed from the iTunes directory? Which I will remind you, I gave you the first version of the directory myself. That's what you started off with. Yeah.
You have to keep reminding people of these things because they'll forget.
Yeah. The answer? No hate speech.
What does that even mean?
That was my question. I said, what does that even mean? Well, hate speech. It's like, okie dokie. They have a very broad definition of hate speech.
Yeah, in other words, if they hate you,
yes,
they'll pull your podcast.
That's a bit the way it sounded. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth because no one said that, but it's like, there was a lot of no one said this, but my interpretation was there was a lot of pressure. And it came down to, we got to be in this, we got to be on board with this, we got to get them off. But they kick a lot of stuff off. Quote.
So you didn't invite Alex Jones to this meetup.
We kick off stuff that is far-right stuff from Germany. And I didn't respond to that. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, does that automatically mean they hate Jews and are killing them on the podcast? Or maybe they just don't like how Germany is being run? So it's very
generally what those podcasts are about.
Yes.
Where they don't like the migration issues that they're having.
Yeah.
So there's another reason to kick them off. Kick them off.
Yeah. So the bottom line is keep going to the dinners, keep smiling friendly. And I think
you can do that.
I think we'll be just fine. Actually, I had
How's Benjamin doing?
Dan's good. Yeah. He's just the same, I guess. A little reminiscing about old days of old and just the typical stuff. Yeah. I had something regarding speech. Now I'm a little discombobulated. I want to dive right into it.
Pull up my clip list.
I'll dive right into this after I talk about that. And there you go. So why don't you get us started and I'll keep searching for whatever the hell it was I was going to talk about.
Let's go over the...
never mind. I found it. Ha!
Oh.
It's a shorty. You'll like it. And it's about hate speech. I knew I had something. This is the European Parliament. We are still in the throes of the Marrakesh Agreement, which is not discussed in the United States of Gitmo Nation. We're also not going to sign it. But the EU is trying to get every one of the 27 member states to get on board. The main thrust of this is that we recognize migration as an international issue, and everyone should be able to migrate to wherever they want, no questions asked.
Yeah, of course, no borders, no people.
Yes, no borders, no nations, no people. And the EU Parliament sees that there will be some additions or some interpretations of the Marrakesh Agreement regarding speech.
Meant to be the legal framework on which the participating countries commit themselves to build new legislation. And one basic element of this new agreement is the extension of the definition of hate speech. The agreement wants to criminalize migration speech. Criticism of migration will become a criminal offense. And media outlets...
This is a joke. This is the
also
Onion.
Concerns you?
No, this is not the Onion. Unless this was overdubbed somehow and I didn't catch it. No, just let me finish it up.
Criticism of migration will become a criminal offense. And media outlets, and that also concerns you, that give room to criticism of migration can be shut down.
There you go.
That's bullcrap.
What do you mean?
This is a hoax. There's no way that this is a real clip.
It's okay. It's the guy's at the European Union. He's answering questions from the press. He's there with other EU Parliament buddies.
I'm just saying.
Okay, well, you know what?
You don't think that this is a little sketchy?
Yes, but I searched and I looked and I saw other people say sounds sketchy, but the eyes don't lie. I mean, it's a European Parliament press conference about the Marrakesh Agreement, and this is a question that came up.
People aren't up in arms about this threat?
No.
Well, the Italians already said no to it.
Yes.
The Hungarians have said no to it. The Polish have said no to it. A lot of people have said no to it. This thing is not going anywhere. But that's beside the point. The point being that clip.
Mm-hmm.
I will be stunned if that's actually true. Stunned.
Well,
that is going way too far. That's going overboard.
It doesn't surprise me.
No,
I mean, hate speech this is exactly what you'd expect. Hate speech is completely broad. It can be interpreted any way. There are no existing laws about it in the United States. Speech is speech. But in Europe, in the UK, there's all kinds of restrictions on hate speech.
We followed this, and I agree with that, but I've never heard any discussion of migration becoming a crime, a jailable offense. Migration sucks.
It's a
Arrest him.
No, I think it's. I don't know if it. Well, maybe it could be even like that. But I mean, if you say something nasty about a public politician in the UK, that is an offense that you can go to jail for. So this is not that far. It's not even their own people.
Okay. Well, we'll dwell on this one.
Yeah. I was very surprised. Very surprised.
Still sounds like The Onion to me.
You got to be careful because, I do check on things that you don't believe or you say is wrong. And
no, I don't say it that often, but that thing you have to admit, out of the blue, listening to that's a little bit out of line.
Absolutely. But still. I see no reason to not believe what this clip that I've seen. It looks extremely believable. It's hard. That's something that you would call unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it is unbelievable, and I don't believe it.
Now, I just want to play a No Agenda classic. On the last show, we had a little back and forth about what I had said about Trump, and you said the guy will never win, and I said, no, I think he can. And I have the genesis of this from 2015.
This is what should be done, but no politician's going to do that.
He doesn't got a prayer. He won't get nominated. He'll make a big splash, make a big scene. He's not spending a lot of money. I don't see any ads.
He's not. He doesn't have to right now.
I don't think he's spending anything. So it's not like it's just to travel.
Did you notice that Huffington Post puts all Donald Trump news on the entertainment section of the website?
Yeah, very funny. That's objective coverage.
Of course.
Okay, let's play this because they're just going to be relentless, and there's meetings going. You can be sure of this. Anyone listening to this, and anytime you're listening, there are meetings right now in New York, Washington, and elsewhere. What are we going to do about this guy?
Make him president. Why not just let him win?
No, they're getting paid not to make him president. That's what these meetings are about. These are not meetings of people that want to elect.
These are lobbyists, and I would think that the lobbyists will take money from other people. Look, the smart money is going to say, you know what? Let's go with this guy. Let's run with him. He's on our side.
You're nuts. Jeb Bush is going to win it. Hey, you know what? You can play all those clips you want because you've already admitted you cheat.
What do I mean I cheat?
You're from the future.
Oh, this is true. Thanks, Chase, for pulling that clip.
Yeah, thanks, Chase.
Now I'll play
it.
Let me play a happy clip because we talked about Dvorak on typing. This was the DOS-based typing tutor that featured John C. Dvorak. And wouldn't you know it, that there are people who love you so much, they have restored these games to work in a web browser. Games, and in this case, the typing tutor.
It's not a game. Well, it is kind of a game.
It's kind of a game. In fact, there's a menu option for games. Now, it's like 8-bit. And no, it's more, I don't know, it's like 2-bit audio. I don't know what kind of audio this was.
2-bit is the right word.
Is it 2-bit? Because it sure sounds like it. 27 seconds.
Interplay and the Park Place production team present Dvorak on typing.
Look at the
fanfare. Main menu. Reports. Main menu. Game. Please wait.
Hold on a second. You don't have to play it anymore. That is not how it sounds.
No, of course not. That's what it sounds today. Hold on.
ITM.
Oh, back then you already knew ITM. I guess the old game doesn't.
That's a good one. ITM. Yeah, use that as the outro. That's a good ITM.
ITM. it doesn't translate somehow with the audio. I'm sure it didn't sound like
buzzing. I mean, somebody didn't do a very good job.
But the fact that it works is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got to love stuff like that. All right, that's our show. I think we've pretty much handled everything.
That's probably late, so I must just call it a day.
I think we're good. Now, let's do some...
wait, I got something funny.
All right.
This is my clip about Trump gassing the Hondurans.
Yeah, you mean women and children and little babies in diapers?
This comes as the Trump administration defended the Border Patrol for firing tear gas into crowds of migrants, including mothers and children, as they tried to cross the U.S. border from Tijuana Sunday. This is Ronald Colburn, president of the Border Patrol Foundation, former national deputy chief of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, speaking on Fox and Friends Monday.
The type of deterrent being used is OC pepper spray. It's literally water, pepper, with a small amount of alcohol for evaporation purposes. It's natural. You could actually put it on your nachos and eat it. So it's a good way of deterring people without long-term harm.
Yum! Oh, that's some Trump defense right there. But I think there's a better one. You know, This has happened every month. Throughout the Obama administration, too. They were tear gassing people at that very same border crossing. There were guys trying to ram the crossing in vans, 3 vans at the same time. This is nothing new. It's not new that we tear gas people at the border. It's just not. And I don't, it's like, it's so obvious what mainstream media is doing. It's just, and it really is lies. I mean, actually, it's not lying because this happened under Trump's regime, his dictatorship, but it's been happening for years and years. So it's disingenuous, I think, is the term I'm looking for.
Disingenuous, the news media, you think?
just a tad.
Well, I do have some clips to give a little background on the Honduras thing, because I think that Democracy Now! Did a very good job. They brought in Dana Frank, who just wrote a book about the coup. Now, if you remember, it was during our show that this Manuel Zelaya, who was the elected president, he was the elected honcho of Honduras, and we orchestrated a coup where we picked him up at night in his bedroom in his underwear at gunpoint, put him on a plane, flew him to Costa Rica, and dropped him off in the middle of the tarmac. Half naked, and then took off. Yeah, we had that whole thing.
It's called a wham bam. Thank you, man.
Here's a little reminder of this. This is the Honduras coup. Manuel Zelaya and Dana Frank discusses this.
I wanted to go back to 2009 when there was a coup in Honduras, and the democratically elected leader, the Honduran president Manuel Zelaya, spoke on Democracy Now! About what happened to him.
They attacked my house at 5:30 in the morning. A group of at least 200 to 250 armed soldiers with hoods and bulletproof vests and rifles aimed their guns at me, fired shots, used machine guns, kicked down the doors, and just as I was in pajamas, they put me on a plane and flew me to Costa Rica. This all happened in less than 45 minutes.
I do remember that. That's a long time ago.
And so they've never actually been Dana Frank has done some research. She's a professor at UC Santa Cruz, and she's come out with a book about this. And they say there's no real smoking gun to prove that it was Hillary, who was the State Department head at the time, who orchestrated this, or it was a CIA Hillary thing, which is part of the reason I think that the CIA and Hillary's still hanging in there. And all these people are sick about Trump. And this whole Honduran caravan, which CNN says doesn't even exist, if you remember. No, there's no such thing. It's a hoax.
Yes.
Is all because of the policies that were instituted by Hillary and Obama. And let's play this clip on Honduras coup. Hillary responsible.
When you interviewed Hillary Clinton when she was running for president, when you were working at the Daily News, you asked her about the coup. She was not pleased. You asked her about her support, the U.S. support for the coup when she was Secretary of State. So it went from the Democrats right through to President Trump. And if you can talk about the extent of this support and why you see that linked to what we're seeing with the migrants today. As you say, these are refugees from U.S. policy.
Well, we don't have a smoking gun that shows the U.S. backed the coup from before it happened. Oh. But all the evidence is very clear that the U.S. wanted the coup to stabilize after it took place, that the U.S. recognized the bogus election of November 2019 that brought Porfirio Lobo to power, and that the U.S. has continued to recognize the ongoing coup regime, especially that of Juan Orlando Hernandez, although he has come in, he stole an election, we don't really know, in 2013. He very clearly ran for president last year in violation of the Constitution, which bans re-election, and then he stole the election in November last year.
Against Salvador Nasrallah.
Yeah, against a united opposition, which very clearly won. So the U.S. has but it's not just a question of the U.S. supporting the coup itself. I mean, clearly Hillary Clinton was responsible for that, but don't forget that Barack Obama was her boss, and he's responsible too.
No.
This gets deeper, and the real problem.
Orange man bad. Yeah.
This is all coming out because of the president of Honduras. His brother was just arrested as a major drug dealer. Yeah. And the argument that she makes in the book is that it's a narco state in Honduras.
Yes.
And so everybody is. It's like the gangland is running the place. So all the small businesses are closing down because they all have to pay tribute to the local boss and all this sort of thing. And it's become a nightmare. And that's one of the reasons that they're marching on the U.S. to come into the country, because we're the ones that probably set this whole thing in motion.
But why don't they just – but hold on a sec. So that's really what the media should be reporting, because that makes sense to say, hey, we did all this. And that's why they're all pissed off, and it's all crazy, and they're running away from this dangerous place, and they want asylum, apparently. Some of them do. But they can't report on it because then they'd have to say that it was Hillary and Obama who put that in place? Is that the issue?
Hello?
The current president's brother arrested in Miami for drug trafficking.
Well, we've known for a long time, 2 years now, that Juan Orlando's brother Tony was involved in drug trafficking. He was, in fact, named in U.S. federal court 2 years ago. And we know that there are drug traffickers from top to bottom in the Honduran government. So for Hondurans, this is no surprise. What's important is that he actually was arrested and is going to be presumably brought to justice. What this signals, though, is what people call an outsourcing of the criminal justice system. Why was he not brought to justice in the United States? Excuse me. Why was he not brought to justice in Honduras? It shows that there's complete breakdown of the Honduran criminal justice system, that this man wasn't brought to justice a long time ago in Honduras.
Okay.
Now, a couple of things. She also mentions that Hillary put something in her Why I Lost book, in her hardcover edition. She took it out for the paperback version. It had to do with Honduras.
Oh.
And a cavalier comment that she made about putting the original guy who was elected back in office. She says, well, it went something like this. Well, what difference does it make? Pretty much what it said. She said, so she pulled that out of the paperback version because she got some flack for it. But now this is the only last clip. This is where Dana Frank makes the argument that it was set up by Obama and Hillary, and that now all the troubles in that part of the world are really stems from that. But it was carried forward, and it went right into the Trump administration. They really haven't done too much about it, although they did arrest the brother. So they're maybe doing something about it. But another name kind of crops up in her exposition of how you can track, the whole thing through and drag it right through the Trump administration and landed on one guy who happens to be a coincidental player in the Trump administration. See if you can figure out who this is when she says his name.
The U.S. has given this post-coup regime green light after green light after green light. So it's not just Obama.
What's his name? Louis Day? Was that a name at the beginning?
No.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear it.
The U.S. has given this post-coup regime green light after green light after green light. So it's not just Obama. It's not just Hillary Clinton. It's also John Kerry and now Donald Trump and his secretaries of state, Tillerson, Pompeo, John Bolton at the National Security Council, Senator Marco Rubio, who is reportedly the person advising Pompeo on U.S. policy in Honduras right now. So this is an ongoing policy, and the Hondurans will be very quick to tell you that the Juan Orlando's regime continues because of U.S. support, not just the police and military aid, which is pouring in, but this legitimation of the regime. And if you want to see the continuities, the key figure here is General John Kelly, who was the head of the United States Southern Command out of Miami before he was chief of staff for Trump. And he very much has supported Juan Orlando Hernandez. He called him a magnificent guy and a good friend. And here's how we can see this continuity from one regime to the next.
You think interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's talking. I mean, I was glad that they brought this woman on. Democracy Now! Does this once in a while. They bring on somebody who wrote a book. So it's very well researched and a lot of good documentation in there. She's got a few things to tell us. Nobody else will cover it.
Now, what I'm not so sure of is that the caravan consists of a lot of Hondurans. I mean, that has been so poorly covered. For all I know,
they're not going to cover anything. In fact, I have an MSNBC report where this, some
I have this report.
The mostly men.
Yes, it's very good.
And they listen to the president, who says it's not women and children; it's stone cold criminals. So my first question is, you're in that tent camp. Besides that family, give us the profile of who is there mostly. And
so they got the reporter on the ground. He's in the camp. He's looking around.
What are they looking for? Because it seems as though, to your point, they don't actually have the necessary information so they know how to cross the border. There could be people yesterday who were running because they thought it was their only chance.
Right. And it's very difficult because this has become such a polarizing issue. If we kind of take a walk, you'll be able to see for yourself. Again, this is the inner sanctum of the shelter. So you're going to see a lot of families here, a lot of women and children. But the truth is the majority of the people that are part of this caravan, especially outside, if we can make our way all the way over there, we'll show you the majority of them are men. So people on one side that point and say there are women and children here, and that is true. And then there are others who point and say these are men that are trying to cross the border, and that's true too. From what we've seen, the majority are actually men, and some of these men have not articulated that need for asylum. Instead, they have talked about, going to the United States for a better life and to find work. But if we come this way here, we're just going to leave. This is where there's a food bank that's set up, and you've got a long...
I cut it off after this. You want to go for another 42 seconds? Was there something else in there?
We're just talking about there are 500 men lined up.
Line of men. Earlier, we saw about 500-600 men standing in line waiting for food, and it looks like that's dwindled down. But this is the outskirts, and we're going to pass through here. I'm going to show you where there's some police officers, and this is the outer perimeter.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point was that the MSNBC girl who was like all bent out of shape about Trump being a jerk.
Stephanie Rule. Orange man bad. Yeah, she's freaking out all the time. Well,
she's always freaking
So just to step back for a second, there's no evidence these are all Hondurans. It could be just a whole bunch of Mexicans who are hanging out, getting ready to go. And there's been no reporting on that. The iconic photo now of the mother with the two kids in diapers who are being tear gassed. There's now alternate shots from all. You can see that they were staged.
Yeah, wag the dog.
Camera guys everywhere. But the thing that really gets me is, and we're talking about illegal immigrants. And I've been through the system many times, 3 actually. I've helped people. There's a way to do it, and you can do it. It's not cheap. I think that's a problem, because it will cost you probably between $3,000 and $5,000 to. But that's what people pay to the coyotes, to get in illegally. So okay, but it's construed in the media as you just hate other people. You just hate brown people. You don't want people to come in and be an immigrant for the American dream, which is bullcrap. Because if you come in legally, we want you to come in. We want you to have the American dream. I still think immigration is about that. You can come in, you can look at it. Used to be, you'd look at Donald Trump and say, I'd be that guy one day. You can't do that anymore. That's orange man bad. But Geraldo, who is, I think he's clearly left-leaning, although he's on Fox, and he's often a voice of reason, which is appreciated. But he shows the true thinking about immigration. he's not thinking about the American dream. Now, he's coming unglued, and then the real truth slips out.
Do you think that's honest what the media is doing or dishonest?
I refuse to deal with this as a media issue because it's far too important. With all due respect, Jesse, this is something that goes to the very quick. This goes to my soul.
Right. But that's how the audience is
fulfilling my role as the designated piñata on Fox News. I want to say
that's racist.
I am ashamed. This tear gas choked me. We treat these people, these economic refugees, as if they're zombies from The Walking Dead. I think we arrested 42 people. 8 of them were women with children. We have to deal with this problem humanely and with compassion. These are not invaders. Stop using these military analogies. This is absolutely painful to watch. We are a nation of immigrants. These are desperate people. They walk 2,000 miles. Why? Because they want to rape your daughter or steal your lunch? No, because they want a job. They want to fill the millions of unfilled jobs we have in the agricultural sector. They want to wash dishes in the restaurants. They want to deliver the pizzas. For goodness sake, I can't. We suspend our humanity when it comes to this issue, and I fear that it is because they look different than the.
There it is. There's Geraldo. He says these people, they come for the American dream, to wash your dishes, to clean your toilets, to pick your fruit. Fuck you, Geraldo. Fuck you. I'm sorry. I hate that.
The woman from The View who was called out said the same thing. Who's going to wash our toilets?
Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. I'll give you – okay, I'm going to give – I would have given you a clip of the day if whoever recorded that for you.
I recorded that myself.
Had done a better job of, maybe using some gear.
I actually tried to filter it. It was so impossible to filter it. I did everything I could, and that was the best I could get. But I worked on it. It was not just sent to me and unprocessed. But anyway, that's hate speech right there. Yeah, we want these economic migrants to come in illegally to wash my floor, wash my dishes, clean my toilet. That's not how I think. But that's how Geraldo thinks. And why is this so accepted? I mean, are they...
It's beyond me. It wasn't accepted on The View when that woman said it.
No, did someone call her out on it?
They all called her out on it.
Oh, good. It's just unconscionable.
And she apologized.
Yeah. Well, I'm sick of this Geraldo saying that stuff. It's illegal. Illegal immigration, not the same as legal migration, to come here for the American dream. And on the books, we could do about 100,000 a year. I think that is the legal limit currently, which, that's the legal immigration. It's not a lot when you think about it.
Well, we've got a couple of things here. We've got Manafort. I want to play these clips because I just want to show you the difference in the way people cover stuff.
Okay. Just a little backgrounder on this. It's in the show notes. I'm not going to read it. But actually I have a background. I do have a backgrounder on Manafort.
On Manafort?
Yeah. I actually put it under Ministry of Truthiness as a... Here, I'll just a little backgrounder, and then we'll talk about it. Because The Guardian published something, and this report is from right after it was published, but The Guardian has since changed many pieces of this article.
Yeah, it was bogus.
But I love these little systems that will track a web page, and they'll show it to you in the colors where things changed. And they completely took it away from this happened to... he wanted to do this. A source said it could have happened kind of thing. And I think The Guardian should get in trouble for what they did.
The backdrop to this new report coming out from The Guardian just this morning that says Paul Manafort met with Julian Assange, a claim that WikiLeaks about 4 minutes ago tweeted out and disputed. Can you explain what the significance of this would be? Again, if accurate. The Guardian is hinging this, I think, on one well-placed source they're citing.
Well, in my understanding, Hallie, from one of the reporters that's been involved, Luke Harding, who I happen to know, is that this is based on source or sources, as well as some documents that they've been able to review. Hallie, the significance of this, the Guardian report says that Paul Manafort visited the Ecuadorian embassy and Julian Assange in March of 2016. This was around the time, as you and I both know well, you being on the campaign trail and us talking about this, that Paul Manafort was joining the Trump campaign or about to join the Trump campaign. We need a little bit more detail on those dates so we can be specific about it. In addition, the Guardian report says that Paul Manafort had other trips to the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and that those trips started around, I believe, 2013, if I remember the report correctly. And why specifically that embassy, which is, of course, where Julian Assange lives.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a report that bears more follow-up at this point.
And just to explain some of the timeline here, you're correct, Tom. This apparently did begin in 2013. Sources have said Manafort, according to The Guardian, went to see Assange as recently as spring of 2016. According to one of their sources, it was in March of 2016. As you know, obviously, Paul Manafort joined the campaign shortly thereafter that, the Trump campaign, that is. Months later, WikiLeaks released those emails. We should note that Paul Manafort's lawyers did not comment, at least to The Guardian, Tom.
I did just speak to, Hallie, just to that point, I did just speak to Jason Maloney, Paul Manafort's spokesperson, and at this point, they are not putting out an on-the-record response, although that may change later today, and they may be able to provide us with something that we can report. So I want to say that we have reached out to Paul Manafort's representatives about this story as well.
So the way I understand what went down here is Manafort was asked if he had met with Julian Assange. He said no. And then immediately, you're lying to us because, and now whether The Guardian came first or Mueller gave it to The Guardian, however The Guardian got this information, turns out it was really incorrect.
Yeah.
It was fake news from The Guardian. Fake news from The Guardian, yeah.
Well, let's play the two clips I wanted to play, which would go over the same exact thing again, but differently.
Yes.
And let's start with the Manafort update with Bass Assange Info CBS.
Something White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders dismissed today.
I'm not aware of any conversations for anyone's pardon.
Adding to Manafort's troubles, the British newspaper The Guardian reported today Manafort held secret meetings with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London, including one in 2016, just months before WikiLeaks released a trove of stolen Democratic emails. Manafort called the story totally false and deliberately libelous. Assange also threatened legal action. In September, the former Trump campaign chairman agreed to cooperate with the special counsel in exchange for other charges against him being dismissed. It was Mueller's biggest victory to date because Manafort could provide valuable information about any cooperation between the Trump campaign and Russia. In a court filing last night, prosecutors did not reveal what Manafort lied about, but promised to eventually issue a report detailing Manafort's crimes and lies. His lawyer says he has met with the special counsel's office several times and provided truthful information. Former Whitewater investigator Solomon Weisenberg says Manafort may be playing the long game.
It's a good hypothesis that he never intended to cooperate. He's angling for a pardon at some point in time.
Any collusion?
Yeah. And then the New York Post, of all fine publications, printed an interview with Trump where they asked him, would you pardon Manafort? And he said, well, it hasn't come up, but I'm not going to rule it out, not going to take it off the table. Long game, in collusion, in cahoots. Oh, yeah. Orange man bad.
Well, anyway, the point is that CBS, if you listen to that carefully, was they kind of took the side of The Guardian, it seems to me.
Of course.
I thought it was a very poorly done story. They did no research. They never pulled back and said
it's the Guardian, John. No, it's The Guardian. You can always, it's like the New York Times of England.
Yeah, it's kind of, the London Times
meddling in our affairs, I might point out. The Brits are meddling in our affairs over here.
Again. So here, let's listen to the better Assange Manafort story. It says better Assange Manafort story, Democracy Now!
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I had a different one queued up. Yep.
Lawyers for Julian Assange said the WikiLeaks founder will sue the Guardian newspaper for libel after it reported Tuesday that Paul Manafort held secret talks with Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London on 3 occasions. The alleged meetings occurred, the Guardian alleged, in 2013, 2015, and in March of 2016, around the time Manafort joined Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Lead author Luke Harding cited a, quote, well-placed source as the basis of the report. In a statement, Manafort called the report totally false and deliberately libelous. WikiLeaks said in a tweet, quote, WikiLeaks is willing to bet the Guardian $1 million and its editor's head that Manafort never met Assange.
Actually, I want to read some of these differences from News Sniffer, from this Guardian article. So this is the original article, and then the change came about 1 hour after that. So first of all, the headline, Manafort held secret talks with Assange in Ecuadorian embassy. An hour later, Manafort held secret talks with Assange in Ecuadorian embassy, sources say. It was right off the bat. Woo!
They're backing off fast. They're backpedaling as fast as they can. But I should mention that the main writer who she mentioned, and I guess there's some other writer involved, are notorious for doing this, creating these fake stories on behalf of MI6 or someone.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Here, it's unclear why Manafort wanted to see Assange and what was discussed. An hour later, it is unclear why Manafort would have wanted to see Assange and what was discussed. Original, but the last meeting is likely to come under scrutiny. Change, but the last apparent meeting is likely to come under scrutiny. And then they added a paragraph. In a series of tweets, WikiLeaks said Assange and Manafort had not met. Assange described the story as a hoax. And then further, according to 2 sources, Manafort returned to the embassy in 2015. The change, according to the sources, Manafort returned to the embassy in 2015. Next change. Why Manafort? He's now known as Manafort. Why Manafort sought out Assange in 2013 is unclear. The change? Why Manafort might have sought out Assange in 2013 is unclear. So there you have it. Total bull crap. It's really just boo.
Yeah, it never happened.
And this is something that you could report on. I mean, this is reportable. This News Sniffer is great. They're changing their story to the same thing the National Enquirer does.
They're walking back the story as fast as they can.
That would be the technical description.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
So that was a scam.
And just staying on this whole any collusion vibe, CNN claims to have answers to 2 of the questions that Trump gave in writing to the Mueller team. How they got it, who knows?
And we are getting the first insight into how the president responded to Robert Mueller's written questions, which until now has been a big unknown. So sources familiar with this matter tell CNN 2 things. Number 1, the president told the special counsel that Roger...
Now, notice what's going on here. Did I not hear that say that she has these answers and then goes into according to sources?
Let's play that again.
And we are getting the first insight into how the president responded to Robert Mueller's written questions, which until now has been a big unknown. So sources familiar with this matter tell CNN 2 things.
KG.
Number 1, the president told the special counsel that Roger Stone did not tell him about WikiLeaks. And number 2, that the president was also not told about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting between his son, campaign officials, and a Russian lawyer who, of course, promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. Now, the president's answers were described to us without providing any direct quotes, and said that the president made clear he was answering to the best of his recollection. But Brianna, these 2 points here, WikiLeaks and the Trump Tower meeting, they are really key, as far as we know, to Robert Mueller's central mission when he started this investigation, which is, was there any collusion between Team Trump and the Russians?
And if so, how high up does it go as well?
Yeah.
How is this
different? Go any higher?
How high up does it go? I don't know what they mean, but it's interesting.
Higher than Trump.
But it's interesting that she just made very clear that this is according to sources. So So she hasn't seen this according to sources. Now listen to what she does next.
And if so, how high up does it go as well?
Yeah.
How is this different? What we know he's said here compared to what he's said publicly?
So we're told, Brianna, that what the president said in these written answers is similar, matches actually what he has said in public. But of course, there's a big difference. These written answers would be subject to criminal charges if false. That's why it is our understanding that the president made clear his answers were the best of his recollection, which is standard for lawyers as a way to shield their client.
No, he's lying. He's lying.
Make sure that they're not in any legal trouble.
Yeah, he must be lying. That's why you do that, to make sure you're not in any legal trouble. It's the same thing. Bleh. Dana Bash is looking better these days, actually. I'm not quite sure what she's done.
I think she had her programming changed, so when she reconstitutes herself as a human form, her eyeballs are a little smaller.
Which brings me to my bot story. Let me see. Actually, no, I'll do that later. It's a part of OTG. It's too lengthy. Ugh.
So I got another couple of comparison stories to do.
Okay.
I have the Russia-Ukraine dust-up.
Yes, I actually have
reported on not going to the mainstream media. I'm going to do the PBS compared to Democracy Now, knowing PBS I don't think cares that much about the situation, but Democracy Now is a big, for some reason, pro-Ukraine, hate Russia.
Well, because it's all anti-Russia and
modern socialist.
And we have huge oil interest in Ukraine. All the elites do. John Kerry, Joe Biden, their sons have business there. Was it who put $5 billion in? Was that Chevron?
I don't remember. Yeah, but let's play the Democracy Now version first.
Russia is sending advanced surface-to-air missiles to the Crimean Peninsula amidst mounting tensions with Ukraine. The escalation comes after Russia's Navy captured 3 Ukrainian ships Sunday and arrested sailors near a narrow waterway separating Russia from Crimea, which Russia seized and illegally annexed in 2014. On Tuesday, Ukrainian President...
That's interesting. Annexed? I thought it was annexed. She said annexed. Annexed.
Yeah, which Russia seized and illegally annexed.
You stopped it. Hold on a second. I want to point something out, that especially with Democracy Now, Russia never seized it. They had a kind of
she said illegally seized it.
Yeah, illegally seized it.
Yeah, they had a vote.
I want to mention something because I do have a couple of reports from her on East Sahara or Western Sahara. I'm sorry, which is an independent country that they won't let become its own independent entity. And she makes a big stink about it in the report when you listen to her. And all these people will do that, these ideologues from the left, is why don't they let them choose what they want to, what country, what they want for their rulers. They go on and about that. But apparently the Crimeans can't do that. And so now that's a bad thing. You can't do that in here because there's some relationship to Russia.
Well, it's because of
in East Sahara when you're trying to get out of the rule of Moroccans. That is another discussion. I just want to point out this kind of nuttiness that you keep hearing with this reports from these guys.
Sunday, and arrested sailors near a narrow waterway separating Russia from Crimea, which Russia seized and illegally annexed in 2014. On Tuesday, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko said Ukraine faces the prospect of an all-out war with Russia.
These Russian tanks were not withdrawn yet. They remain there at the Ukraine-Russia border. And that's why I don't want anyone to think that it's entertainment or a game. The country is under the threat of a full-fledged war with the Russian Federation.
Now, full-fledged war with the Russians. It's kind of what you walk away from. Is that we're borderline war. Is the message you come away from with the War and Peace report from Democracy Now. So let's listen to something this time instead of listening to the guy from Ukraine. Let's hear the other side of the story from Putin and maybe there's an explanation that makes a little more sense from PBS.
Russia's military announced today that it is sending more anti-aircraft missiles to occupied Crimea amid a new crisis with Ukraine. Russian vessels seized 3 Ukrainian ships and 24 sailors in the Kerch Strait on Sunday, claiming they illegally entered the area. Today, President Vladimir Putin charged that Ukraine's president provoked the crisis to help his re-election chances.
Now, a small incident occurred and martial law was introduced in the country. This is being done obviously in the run-up to the presidential polls, an absolutely obvious fact. Now, this is a provocation for sure.
Also today, the Kremlin said it still expects Mr. Putin to meet with President Trump at the G20 summit. Mr. Trump threatened yesterday to cancel that meeting over the Russian actions against Ukraine.
Now, because of the martial law, if you think about it, you get everybody in a war statute, it's not the word I'm looking for, stature. Getting everybody ready for war. This is what Bush used to do when he did get reelected. We had red alert. The terrorists are going to bomb us again. We got to be on our toes because of red alert. And then the election happened. This was like a scam that Bush pulled on the American public.
Yes.
And everyone called him out for it. He says, and so he said it wasn't a scam. And this is what's going on. I think that's exactly what I think. Putin's exactly right. This guy, there's an election coming up.
Yeah.
This is the great way to go. He said, provoke an incident, put martial law in place, say that we're going to be raided any minute by all these tanks.
And vote for me. And vote for me.
And vote for me.
Here's the report from Ukraine Radio Ukraine International. As far as I can tell, it is not your typical USAID outfit. It is not funded by the State Department, although the Ukrainian government did cut its funding significantly a year or two back. So here's what they have to say.
The 2003 treaty between Russia and Ukraine designates the Kerch Strait and the Sea of Azov as shared territorial waters, but Moscow has been asserting greater control over the area since its annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in 2014, particularly since May this year, when it opened the new 19-kilometer bridge linking the peninsula to Russian territory to the east of the Kerch Strait.
So what I heard is that that one of these ships, and I don't know if it's true or not, it's Russian propaganda, no doubt, that one of these ships was ready to blow up the bridge. And that's what, bless you, and that's what this was maybe about, but I like your explanation far better. It makes nothing but sense. Be afraid, vote for me.
Yeah, be afraid, vote for me. I like the bridge concept, but it still sounds bogus.
Yeah.
Because that would cause a problem.
Yeah,
that bridge is like a big deal.
It's a very big deal. Yeah,
just been recently opened. So,
but they've made
that is an act of war. Yeah. They would get into a war.
But they've made no. And also, there's a lot going on. We got the Turk Stream. Although that's not. It's in the Black Sea. But there's just a lot of activity happening there right now. And sorry, I still like your thesis the best. That's the one that makes sense. When is the election exactly?
I think it's next month. It's coming up.
No, then he should do another scare in about 10 days. See if we can get something going. And, yeah.
So I was listening, it is my last Democracy Now! Clip. I'm listening to it because they had to, they lead the news with the global warming stuff because that gives Amy the opportunity to go to all these global warming confabs.
She can go to Paris.
Well, this time she's going to Poland. The next one's in Poland, apparently.
It's the Paris of Eastern Europe.
Yeah, Krakow probably a good place to visit. So, but I only wanted to clip because I was listening to one of the YouTube guys, some Nobel laureate going on, and he's saying that the whole thing is kind of bogus for all kinds of very particular reasons. And he never mentioned the computer simulation problem that they have. But he did say the one thing, which was, how come every time there's going to be something like global warming, everything is going to be bad? Nothing good is ever good. Why? Isn't there any possibility that something good could happen ever? If there's a change of anything, is there no chance that anything good could come of it? And so that was in the back of my mind as I clipped this, the global warming report, which only talks about all the horrible things that are going to happen.
To see a global rise of 3.2 degrees Celsius or nearly 6 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century. Such a rise would see devastating droughts, floods, and extreme weather with increased sea level, crop failures, mass migration, and global conflict. The UN's calling for new investments in renewable energy and for governments to replace subsidies on fossil fuels with taxes to discourage their use. The stark warning came ahead of the UN climate talks set for Katowice, Poland, next month.
And I'll be there reporting live. I'm Amy Goodman, the War and Peace Report.
She did make that clear that she's going to be there.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to have famine and drought. By the way, droughts and flooding is a very interesting thing to happen at the same time. Droughts and flooding and famine and war.
We're all going to die.
I mean,
war,
all these things. Nobody ever thinks that maybe Greenland will melt down and we're going to end up with the growing seasons up there, or maybe they'll find gold. Who knows?
Woo! Well, Al Gore is on the warpath for this, and I'm sure this is perfectly timed with the Polish adventure. December 3rd and 4th, or 3rd through the 4th, he will be coming to you with 24 hours of reality.
The climate crisis. Signs are all around us. The stakes are high. A healthy future hangs in the balance. Tune in December 3rd and 4th as former Vice President Al Gore is joined by world leaders, climate and health experts, and entertainers in an examination of how the climate crisis threatens our health and communities and what we can do to solve this global challenge. It's our responsibility to protect our body, our planet, our future. 24 hours of reality. When we protect our planet, we protect ourselves.
Yeah, baby.
What is this?
24 hours. Well, and you know, the entertainment is going to be the Goo Goo Dolls. Woohoo! I mean,
you got to tell me what this is. Is this event in New York? Is this some Madison Square Garden special?
No,
it's a TV event that's going to be on cable.
It's a video event only, as far as I know, online. He did this a couple of years ago. He does this from time. Maybe it was even last year. He does this 24 hours of reality and gets everyone together and they all talk about it. And, you know, then the Goo Goo Dolls will perform. Now, Rihanna wasn't available, apparently. So, it should just be. And I love the title, 24 Hours of Reality. Let's see what the BBC says about all this in Orange Man Bad.
Got you on climate change as well. He says he doesn't believe a report done by his own administration that points to some very serious economic impacts. This is a bit of a pattern, isn't it? I mean, he undercuts his own administration all the time. Why?
Constantly. And this is a president who comes to office with some very firmly held views.
This is the Reed, I think his name is, from The Hill.
About immigration, about climate change, and about the way things used to be in America, making America great again. And the climate change report is a part of...
Isn't that interesting? So it's because he's old, obviously, old-fashioned, you know, so he wants, his own white drinking fountain, just wants to keep things the way they are. You know, it was good, you know, before climate change. I'm just going to go, no, it's not happening.
About immigration, about climate change, and about the way things used to be in America, making America great again. And the climate change report is a part of that. I mean, this is something that there is scientific consensus on. There's no serious scientific opposition to the notion that climate change is...
There's no serious opposition. Nope.
Serious scientific opposition to the notion that climate change is real and getting worse and caused by humans, but the president is not willing to bend his preconceived notions on that.
The science is in.
Science. Crazy.
I like the way they gloss over the 30,000 scientists who signed that letter.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic? I wonder.
Or the people that, like myself, who keep complaining that, hey, this is based on computer simulations, which are notoriously useless.
Here's a question. So let's just take Berkeley, California. Had we implemented everything necessary in 2000, I put in the show notes again that report from 2000. In fact, I will read it to you from Reuters. United Nations. A senior United Nations environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. This is actually from 89. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 89 report.
Coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos, said Noel Brown, director of the New York office of the UN Environment Program, UNEP. He said governments have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect before it goes beyond human control.
And so they were predicting disaster by 2000.
Yes. So what would happen if we had implemented everything? I mean, how much cooler would it be? Would it be 2 degrees cooler right now?
I don't know. It's cold out today.
Hey, man, weather's not climate, bro. Meanwhile, France, Manu Macron, he's taking this to heart. And here's the strategy for France. As part of their strategy, they are going to close 14 nuclear reactors by 2035.
Yeah.
Is he cuckoo?
Yeah. This is nuts.
I mean, that's going to kill that country.
It's one of the greatest systems in the world for creating energy. It's been flawless. It hasn't produced a bunch of bad stuff. They're all standardized, so all the reactors are the same, so they don't cost that much to put up or staff. They're not, the problem that we have with our General Electric and some of these Westinghouse, some of these reactors, they're all custom made. You need just, everyone has to be trained on different reactors. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
Although they're more efficient or they're fancier or they do more, they develop more power. Who knows? But the French system has been absolutely the best and most reliable in the world, and it's clean energy.
Yep.
So why are they doing this?
To help the new Green Deal.
Send the country into, I think France is 80% nuke electricity.
Something like that, yeah.
Pays for everything.
Yeah.
Can't get that from wind.
But they at least may have natural gas. The Netherlands is really on track to
natural gas isn't nearly as clean as nuke.
No, I know, but so they're not even going to do that. They're going to do wind and solar. And man, it's going to be tough to read at night in France without electricity. I also don't really think that he's going to go through with that. It just doesn't seem right.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And with that talk, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in climate change, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all the ships at the sea and the boots on the ground, the feet in the air and the subs in the water.
In the morning
and all the dames and all the knights out there.
In the morning to our troll room. Thank you for hanging in there this morning. It was good to have you. I didn't look at you for troubleshooting this morning, trolls. That would have made me mad. But as always, we love having you there. NoAgendaStream.com. Also, a big in the morning to Martin JJ. Martin brought us the artwork for episode 1089. The title of that was Puppet Mouth. And this was, we looked for quite a while to see what we wanted to choose. And this, of course, was our 33 Squared broadcast. And he had I don't even know if that was a photo montage, if we went outside and took a yellow wax crayon and wrote No Agenda 33 times 33 on the pavement, but it looked good.
That is a font. I've seen it.
Oh, it's a font? Well, it looked really good. And we appreciate that Martin JJ, who was also running the backup recording system for today, hopefully, just in case anything goes wrong. And we always love when our artists who are part of our value network upload something cool for us to use for the show. It makes a big difference. And Apple will be the first to admit that they love putting us in the new and noteworthy. First of all, we're getting the downloads or however they measure that, the feed accesses. But also, it makes the page pretty. It changes something they want to portray to their customer. And it works. People click, and we spread the word.
Well, we do have a few people to thank for being executive and associate executive producers for the show 1090.
Yes.
Starting with
NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Just want to slip that in.
Archduke Dwayne Melanson in Tigard, Oregon, 33333. We haven't heard from him for a while.
No.
Forgive me, Podfather and JCD. It's been several months since my last donation. The analysis lately, particularly on topics like Kanye and the midterms, has been excellent.
Oh, thank you.
He needs an F cancer karma for his brother-in-law who just had major surgery for stage 4 nasal cancer, please.
Oh, geez. Okay, absolutely.
You've got karma.
Damn. Nasal cancer. Crazy.
Yeah. Not good. Anonymous comes in. something over here. Anonymous with $202.02. Please keep this anonymous. And he's going to be a knight, so it'd be knighted, and he's got a birthday call out too. Sir, he's got his title, Sir Fomer Brahmin of the Tech. Is that right?
Let me see what it says.
He said, "Oh, this is not." Well, hold on a second.
Holding on. What's going on here? It says.
Well, he sent a note. This, I don't know if this is the check that came in, but it. No, this came in late. This is down lower. Sorry. Okay, my just getting confused.
All right.
Anonymous thing.
Okay.
Keep me anonymous. I believe this donation makes me a knight. Accounting below, if my math is right, and I get the knighting, I would like to be Sir Fomer Brahmin of the Tehachapi Loop. Tehachapi. For the round table, please add hobo stew and fortified wine.
Okay.
A North Korean lady, Louie would be great too. I think he means a North Korean. Does North Korean lady say Louie? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I know what he's talking about.
Okay, it would be great too. And karma for all, love and light from the Jack London Square.
All right, thank you very much, Anonymous. Looking forward to that celebratory knighting later on. We got everything, baby. You may sing along.
Hey, come on, guys. No.
You've got karma.
We've got anything you want.
He'll be the associate executive producer. James Gillickson will be another one, $201. And he says, thank you for the greatest podcast. I appreciate all the work you do to cut through all the crap we hear in the news. Keep up the excellent work. Can I get a jobs karma for my smoking hot wife, Lisa, and a Fulmer? Thanks.
Does he mean a foamer?
He said, I think Fulmer. I mean, he's talking about an ale.
Can I get a jobs karma for my smoking hot wife, Lisa, and a Fulmer? I think he means I think
British
he means
ale.
I think he needs a foamer. Is what we're gonna give him a foamer anyway.
Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Sean DeSantis in Fort Pierce, Florida, comes in with $200. ITM, and thank you for all you do. I've been feeling quite lost for some time, but for 6 hours a week, I know where I belong, requesting to try out a good dose of all-purpose karma. Thank you for your courage.
And thank you for your courage. Here you go. It always works.
You've got karma.
And last on our list is Brett Winslow from Dodgeville, Wisconsin. John, I apologize for spelling grammar mistakes. I'm dyslexic, and I can do what I can do. I got what I got. Longtime listener, dude named Ben here. I've been monthly donor for a long time. I was at $10 for a while, and then I left my job to try to get out of the DNB business and take over the family farm. I put my monthly contribution down to $5. Well, even though I worked my butt off, the farming dream just didn't work out for me, which is the case for a lot of others. Now I'm back working in a DNB consulting gig, which I don't especially like. Can I get some jobs karma as I'm trying to find myself something with a little more work-life balance, as they say? Back in the 90s, I first started watching John on the show Silicon Spin. Being a geeky DNB, even in high school. What does DNB mean?
Dude named Ben.
Dude named Ben. Okay. Orange Man bad.
Good
in high
one.
School, I never really watched MTV, sad to say. However, followed John to who show would not be named online network. Then John himself hit me in the mouth with one of his many shameless plugs. I feel like a douchebag for not having donated more than my small monthly contribution over the years. Not sure if it counts as being a douchebag. Just to be sure, can I get a de-douching?
I think we can arrange for that. That should be no problem.
You've been de-douched.
Personally, a $5 subscription, you're out of the douchebag category.
Hell yeah. And thank you very much.
Keep up the good work. You both opened my eyes to what's really going on in the media land, both dimensions. I can't even stand to listen to Wisconsin Public Radio anymore. I stopped my contribution to that organization, so I figured I might as well give it to you guys for Christmas. I loved Adam's simulation theory. However, my understanding of the simulation hypothesis, if that's true, we would all be bots, non-player characters in the system. The idea that if a simulation gets to a really high level, the artificial characters themselves would not be able to he watches a lot of Star Trek, would not be able to tell they are artificial. Is it possible we were running into characters logged in from some outside the simulated universe? There's a Star Trek Next Generation episode that deals with a similar idea when one of the characters in the holodeck realizes he's in a simulation and tricks the crew with his own hack and tries to take over the ship.
No.
Yeah, well,
I can tell you real quick, I believe the simulation is possibly real, but the simulation runs for each of us. So you are actually, yes, right now, you in my simulation, you're a bot of you. And that bot of you does the same thing all the time. But you have a different bot for Mimi in her simulation.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, man.
Okay.
Hey, how can you argue with Elon Musk, bro?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
There's another reason this short is stock.
All right. And we want to thank our executive producer and associate executive producers for supporting the program. We really work hard on it. We know a lot of people get benefit, and that gets me up in the morning to know that people feel better about the just being inundated with all of this crap, and especially on social media. So it's very, very painful for everybody, and we try to give you some solace, and this keeps us going. Appreciate it. We'll be thanking more people, $50 and above in our second segment, and another program. I will be coming to you from Chicago on Sunday. Dvorak.org/NA. And you know that we'll have lots more for you to propagate to everybody in your network.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Orange man bad. Hey, I got a lot of social justice warrior stuff for some. Not clips necessarily, but just some. You want to just go through a couple stories?
Okay.
White liberals, according to research from Yale, present themselves as less competent in interactions with African Americans. They use simpler language.
I bet.
And you know, this is one of those reports. Is like it's Yale, the Yale School of Management, and they have not published this study yet, but they did, and it's going to be in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. While many previous studies have examined how people who hold racial bias have in multiracial settings, few have studied how whites who are more well-intentioned interact with people of other races. There's less work that explores how well-intentioned whites try to get along with racial minorities, but now they have this, and it turns out for right-wing, let's just call them Republicans, although they have not, there's less data of them speaking to African Americans, which is funny by itself. There seems to be no difference in how they address a group that is mainly made up of African Americans, but white liberals, as the study proclaims, tend to downplay their own verbal competence in exchanges with racial minorities compared to how other white Americans act in such exchanges. Rut-row. I believe it.
So in other words, they're talking to them like they're kids.
To a degree, I think. Yeah, it's simplifying the language.
Down to them.
Yeah, because they may not understand.
They're dumb. That's why. Hey, you're dumb. So I'm a superior white liberal. So I'm going to talk to you like you're a dumb.
Yes,
I really actually think you are.
Yes,
that's great.
From Yale.
Yeah. They're from Yale, so I can actually talk with a bit of this.
In Darien, Connecticut, schools are now banning. I didn't know this was a thing. Parents in the lunchroom, school lunchrooms. I did not know this, but it apparently these days, lots of parents go to see their kids during lunch break at the school and hang out with them.
What?
Yeah, the helicopter parents.
What?
Yes.
I would be mortified when I was a kid if my parents showed up at the school lunchroom. Ugh.
Well, interestingly,
no, that'd probably get beat up.
Well, now it's the parents.
In the good old days.
Now it's the parents who are upset. They're really upset that they can't. Oh, here. Terry Stedman, a parent, told the board she was shocked and driven to tears by the news. To just ban parents from the lunchroom, which is effectively what you're doing with this email. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's in the spirit of a collaborative environment.
Oh, God.
I didn't know it was a thing. I
never heard of such a thing. This is all news to me.
It feels like a punch in the gut, parent Jessica Zhu, whose oldest child is in the first grade, said in an interview. I chose the town for the schools. I'm so frustrated the schools don't want me there.
They don't.
No.
The kids don't either, lady.
Maybe, I don't know, these kids, maybe they love it. I don't know. Everything's different. I don't have kids of that age. Let's keep going. Florida police chief gets 3 years for plot to frame black people for crimes. And the reason I brought this story is you hear the story and you think, wow, that's so racist. Of course, the police chief is black. That makes it a kind of a weird story.
That makes it funny.
That's
how the difference between humor and racism.
Yes. Australians, on all official government forms, they finally figured it out. They want to be as inclusive as possible. And Australians now will be able to choose from multiple gender labels under a new proposal for all of their governmental paperwork. I should mention 33 different gender labels.
Oh,
first of all, magic number, but wow, 33.
I always thought it was 16, but 33 makes more sense in the scheme of things.
And then finally, from the United Kingdom of Gitmo Nation East, the BFI, the British Film Institute, who fund a lot of theatrical work, movies, but I think also they probably fund like the Downton Abbey and that kind of stuff. They will withhold funding for any movie that tries to make villains scary with scarred faces. No longer can villains have scarred faces because people with scarred faces are hurt by this.
Brother. What about a missing nose? Is that okay?
No. If you look at all if you just think about the famous villains, actually, I'm going to bring up this article. Well, of course, Blofeld, James Bond's arch enemy, big scar. We have Freddy Krueger, scarred. We have, Star Wars would even have scarred villains. And, of course, we had the villain in The Lion King, whose name was actually Scar. That also should be verboten, I guess. It's a little overboard, people. Just a little.
Yeah.
Before social media, we didn't have all these problems.
No. Well, we did. We probably had them, but we didn't know.
Oh, yeah. But if it's not discussed in a broad manner on, these with a network effect, no one cares otherwise. Yeah. All right.
Well, I get the story of the day, I think.
Okay.
Because it's got everyone all bent out of shape. But it wasn't played by I'm stunned this wasn't played by the mainstream. This is Kushner to get Mexico's highest honor.
Mexico will bestow Mexico's highest honor for foreigners on Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, when Kushner arrives for the G20 talks in Argentina. The move drew scorn from prominent Mexicans, including actor Gael Garcia Bernal, who called the decision to award the Aztec Eagle tremendously shameful. Previous winners include Nelson Mandela and the Nobel Prize-winning novelist Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
All right, I was irked by this story because the way, it's just one of these bullcrap things you get. You get awards for being who you are for some reason. I don't know why they're giving it to him. But it's not like a bunch of Pulitzer or Nobel Prize winners that the only people that get it. I'm going to read some of the people that get it.
Well, he's so you know, he's an advisor. Just so you know. That's what she said. She said he's an advisor.
No, I'm sorry I didn't catch that. Yes, that's what she said. She said he's an advisor. I think she meant advise nerd. She doesn't know how to pronounce things. Melinda Gates.
Okay.
Why is she getting it? What does she do?
Hey,
Bill didn't get it. I don't think
see
Bill Gates' name on the list.
For sleeping with Bill Gates, I think you deserve a Presidential Medal of Honor.
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
Adam at Curry.com. Rick Bayless.
Who's that?
Rick Bayless is a TV cook that specializes in cooking Mexican cuisine.
I can't believe MSNBC should run with this story. You can do this whole thing. Also, previously awarded this esteemed award, the TV chef. They could make a great story out of this.
Here's one that you'll like. Bono.
You mean Bono?
Bono. Sorry. Why do I keep mispronouncing Bono?
I don't know. I like it. Bono.
Bono. He got one. Meanwhile, all the presidents pretty much got one. Walt Disney got one in 1943. Various politicians.
It seems more like an entertainment prize than it does anything.
Well, I don't know. There's some people I never heard of. Eisenhower got one. Rafael Trujillo, which is a nasty dictator, got one. It's just
well,
all the kings and queens of the Netherlands are really loaded up. The Queen Beatrix got one. King William Alexander got one. Maxima got one.
Wow, the Queen too.
Yeah, they loaded up with the Netherlands. Anyway, I could go on with these people. King Olaf of Norway got one. Anyway, it's just in other words,
maybe we can get one.
Who knows why?
Let's find out what the criteria is. Maybe we can get ourselves one.
I think it's just I don't know if there is any criteria. Let me read from the thing. It just says the Order of the Aztec Eagle is the largest Mexican order awarded to foreigners in the country. It was created in 1933 as a reward to the services given to Mexico or humankind by foreigners. It corresponds to similar distinctions given to Mexican citizens, such as the Condecoración Miguel Hidalgo or the other one. It's given by the office of the foreign minister on the instructions of a council established for the purpose headed by the president. So in other words, it's like the awards you give away when you're a magazine, top 10. You have
we're the best podcast in the universe, and we could have a lunch.
We could have a lunch and then pick and just start giving these awards out. But we already give, we have the knighthood thing, which is probably
we'll make that guy a knight on the spot.
I don't know about that.
All right. Okay. There's something that I need to play a clip of. We've talked about Jeffrey Epstein a lot on the show. And he has an island, and it's known that there's a lot of young,
island,
possibly underage girls there, and he has his private plane.
Pedo Island.
What's it called?
Pedo Island.
Oh, Pedo Island. Well, his airplane is dubbed the Lolita Express. Woo-hoo! And here's the thing with the Lolita Express. Jeffrey Epstein has had Bill Clinton on that Lolita Express a lot. There's flight logs. Even without President Clinton's Secret Service detail. Donald Trump has also been on the Lolita Express to Pedo Island. So has Alan Dershowitz has also been on the Lolita Express. But and in 2008,
exclusive club.
In 2008, this is a hedge fund guy, and he lives in Palm Beach. Palm Beach, Florida. He basically got off with a slap on the wrist for being a sex offender. And I have not looked into the case and how that slap on the wrist kind of took place. But now many of these girls who at the time were 14, 15 years old are speaking out. And the Miami Herald has done a nice expose. This is a piece from a video they published along with it. The whole video is 12 minutes. I got a minute and a half for you. I think you'll like it.
On June 30th, 2008, Jeffrey Epstein, a Palm Beach multimillionaire hedge fund manager, received what might have been the most lenient plea deal for a serial sex offender in U.S. history. The Miami Herald identified over 60 of his victims, just young middle and high school girls at the time of the abuse. More than a decade later, several of them are talking for the first time about how they were molested by Epstein and believe they were betrayed by the very prosecutors who were supposed to hold Epstein accountable.
One child would be lured over, would be paid substantial sums of money, would be offered the further inducement of being paid a bounty for anybody else that she was able to bring to Epstein. A network developed where many young girls in the same kinds of circumstance wound up being victimized.
By the time I was 16, I brought him up to 75 girls, all the ages of, 14, 15, 16, people going from 8th grade to 9th grade at just school parties is where I'd recruit him from.
All Jeffrey cared about was go find me more girls. His appetite was insatiable. He couldn't stop. He wanted new, fresh, young faces every single day.
The sheer volume of girls, the frequency, sometimes several or many in the same day, the age of the girls. In some cases, there were victims that didn't know each other, had never met each other, but they had basically the same story.
I remember there was a staircase, and it was kind of like a spiral almost.
And she brings us up the stairs, and it was like spiral stairs. We walked into his bedroom, around his bed, to almost like a very little hall, and then it was another door. And that's where everything would happen, was in his bathroom. He would have a dresser, and it was filled with the first drawer was lotion, and then the third drawer down was sex toys.
Yeah, and it just goes on from there.
Yeah.
Really, hundreds of girls. Hundreds. Yeah. They have lists of hundreds of girls. If you read the story, these were girls who were mainly, they got $200, but these girls were, their parents were in trailer park. They lived in trailer parks. Their parents were on drugs. Some of them were just homeless. They were taken advantage of by this guy in the most despicable
no doubt
way.
About that. This guy was amazing. This guy was, you had to say 75 or hundreds. What is the point? What I'm asking, do you think his point is? And what's his point? Is he bored, or is he easily bored? He has to he can't screw the same girl twice. It doesn't make any sense to a normal person.
No, but clearly he's ill and needs to be locked up in an institution and given one of those fancy lobotomies we do these days with the ultrasound.
Locked up or hedge fund manager, I don't know. Same thing.
No, I find it very disturbing. And how did this happen that he just kind of skipped off with no jail time or anything?
It's the same thing as the pedophile rings that you're always moaning about in Europe that are apparently go right up into the judicial.
Yeah, and you'll be pleased to know that this former detective who just published a book called The Lost Boys of Bird Island, a shocking expose from within the heart of the NP government. What does NP stand for? Where the hell was this? Well, anyway, he was. Here's the headline: publishes book exposing high-level government pedophile ring, shot in the head days later. I hate it when that happens.
Suicide.
Yeah. Let me see just what is Bird? I do want to see what government was this. No, I was thinking Control Room would help me out. I can't see it now. NP, yeah.
I have no idea. Well, let's do a little.
It's South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The book details the corruption within the last apartheid government of South Africa and implicated officials all the way to the top. How high does it go? Including Defense Minister Magnus Malan and the Minister of Environmental Affairs, John Wiley. Before his death, the author, Minnie, announced that he was approached by many more people with even more damning evidence, which he planned to reveal in a sequel of the book. However, he died.
Maybe he should have just shut up about the sequel.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening
in that first book. Let's kill this guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what's happening to, well, not exactly the same, but this Jerome Corsi guy who's now being hassled by the Mueller team.
Oh, is that Stone's buddy?
Yeah. Well, Corsi's been around. I've seen him on Alex Jones in the past, although not recently. I haven't really been watching, but he'd do Coast to Coast. And he was a writer. He's 72. He's a little older, and he's writing. I think he just published a book about the deep state. It's like, okay, let's get that guy, because Mueller is all over that. maybe one day it'll all come out and we'll really know what Mueller's role was, going back to being hired just right before 9/11. Then Obama comes in. We need you to stay for an extra 2 years. Yeah, but there's a 10-year term limit. We'll figure that out. We'll just scrub something over here, make that work. He's so tied into everything and everybody. Maybe one day we'll find out. Maybe.
No, the whole thing is corrupt.
Yeah.
This corruption lurks.
Yes.
So I'm surprised that we're even talking.
What?
Ask me. Yeah. Why do I say such a thing?
Why do you say this, John?
Because my browser, if I try to do anything, I go on Google to look up something, which I've been trying to do here.
You got froze?
Or Bing, or any of them, and I get, you got no internet connection.
Reboot is what you always tell me.
Yeah, well, that's what I would do.
Reboot.
How can I have no internet connection if I'm talking to you?
Well, it's something with your browser. Are you using Brave?
No. I use Brave on the other machine.
Here, hold on. Let me help. Is it working? No?
I'm going to try Microsoft.
Yeah, you try that, and meanwhile, I'm going to give you an update, the latest on the e-scooters. And I do want to reiterate, I'm very much for the e-scooter revolution.
Have you seen the new balancing one? They're pretty cool.
Oh, it doesn't fall over?
Right, it doesn't fall over. It's got big, giant tires.
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's like a Segway, only front and back wheels.
No, I have not seen that.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's all cool as long as people drive not on the sidewalk and as long as they don't throw these things all over the place. I mean, there's more of these here on 2nd Street downtown. It got trees, they made a nice little downtown area. There's more of these things than trees. I mean, it overpowers the landscape. And it's hurting people.
So in the past 6 or 7 months, we've seen more than 100 cities in the U.S. get these rentable, dockless, motorized scooters. And we're seeing a lot of accidents rack up in emergency rooms. Over the past few weeks, I've been talking to doctors in emergency rooms in several major cities, and they say they're seeing the rate of these accidents happen anywhere from maybe 10 a month to 10 a day. Well, I've heard all sorts of stories. A lot of people, they just kind of lose control of the scooter because they don't quite know what they're doing. Other incidents I've heard is that people's brakes haven't worked. I've also heard incidents where they push on the throttle and the scooter just keeps going.
Yeah, well, hold on. That's the desired result. Push on the throttle and it just keeps on going. I don't know who you talk to.
I've heard incidents where they push on the throttle and the scooter just keeps going. A lot of doctors are saying most of the injuries they see coming in are people without helmets. A lot of people renting the scooters are tourists. They're not traveling with helmets, or people just going about their day-to-day lives. They're not carrying around a helmet. And this is contributing to a lot of head injuries. That's part of the problem with the scooters. There's different laws in different states, different cities, so people don't really know what the rules are. Some states require helmets, some don't. In California, it used to be the law that everyone had to wear a helmet, but one of the scooter companies, Birds, backed a bill to get that helmet requirement taken out, and so starting January, people won't have to wear helmets in California. So when you sign up to rent one of these scooters, you have to click through agreements in the app, and basically those agreements are taking on full responsibility for what happens with that scooter. So it absolves the scooter companies of any responsibility or liability. So if you get hurt, it's your fault, not the company's.
That's the part I like the best. It's the old EULA trick. So when you go up to the scooter you want to ride, then you have to have the app, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna. I haven't done it. You sign off. You sign off on everything, even if the thing is defective. Even if it blows up right under you, which I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
The
old EULA trick.
Yeah.
So it's got to get. When will some judge have some balls and throw that whole thing out?
Yeah.
Unless you can prove someone read it and if there's any option. So I buy some software. And I've already paid my money. I pay my money for the software. And I'm going to I don't like this EULA, so I say, no, I don't accept it. The software won't work.
No,
right?
that's correct. In many cases, you can't get any further. It'll say, great, you just can't use the software. Correct.
What about my money?
Yeah, no, I know. There's another issue in that regard, and it's something Apple is doing, and there's lawsuits, I think even a class action lawsuit, is they do all kinds of tricks to not let you repair your Apple products outside of official Apple channels, which is kind of, it's another side of that coin. It's like, hey, I bought this, I own this, I should be able to do whatever I want with it. Certainly, if something's broken, I should be able to go to someone who can repair it. But they make that impossible. If you try to open this, then that gets disabled. It's like booby trap, basically. And there's right of first ownership, or there's some basic law that says you should have the right to repair your device.
Yeah, you should.
Well,
I bought it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. But everybody in Congress is a lawyer, so that's why we get stuff like this. I tell you, so I was taking my dry cleaning to Kathy's on the 3rd, and right there in front of the Blue Grocer that's where a lot of homeless guys hang out. I used to give money, right? We talked about this. I don't do it anymore. No, because the same guy I give money to is still there, and he lies to me. He said, I'm going to get some shoes. He doesn't get any shoes. It doesn't matter. I'm done with it. I don't do it anymore, not in Austin at least.
You're fed up.
And I'll tell you why. I was very happy about it because, so I'm walking, I see a guy coming towards me, kind of, you can see he's transient. I don't think homeless would be the right description, but transient. He stops someone in front of me, they shake their head, and he stops me. I said, no. So I do my business. I walk around the block, and then he comes from the other direction. He's coming at me again.
He's tracking you.
And, of course, he, again, asked me. I said, no, you just asked me. No. 30 seconds later, he whizzes by me on an e-scooter, meaning the guy has a smartphone, a means of payment. Are you kidding me, Austin? Just whipping by.
So long, sucker.
That's pretty much it. Definitely.
Well, this is not going to help.
So, let's see. There was
just a quick hit on Australia. Let's play a little story about. Apparently, got a lot of fire and floods going on there, but probably because of global warming.
The people of Australia grapple today with extreme fire and extreme rainfall. Sydney was inundated with a month's worth of rain in a single morning. The deluge flooded homes and streets and claimed at least one life.
We've had storm events before in New South Wales. We've had storm events in Sydney before, but not this widespread, not over this continuing period of time. We've had in excess of 100 millimetres of rain already in some areas of Sydney, but one of the things we're happening is the rain is in flooding different areas at different times.
Meanwhile, in northeastern Australia, firefighters in Queensland state battled an unprecedented 138 fires as temperatures soared to 104 degrees. Authorities said the fire danger has gone to catastrophic. That is the worst on their scale.
I didn't hear global warming in the report.
I know.
What's wrong? That's wrong. That's just wrong.
So I've been working on my Australian accent. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Steak and shrimp. That's as far as I've gotten.
John at Dvorak.org is where you can send your official pronunciation. Please send him lots of audio files of telling him how to pronounce steak and shrimp.
Steak.
Zuckerberg was invited to the UK to testify in front of government there. He was a no-show. He sent his, the local...
Why would he go?
He sent the... Well, that's a good question. Here is a quick exchange between his his proxy
body
from
double.
His no.
As a body double. Who would know the difference?
And that, if ever a good reason to have a bot in the simulation, it would be that guy. Now, they sent his local VP.
You said earlier on that you apologised for the decision for Mark Zuckerberg not appearing here. You took responsibility for that. How do you think that looks as a member of this Parliament?
Not great, I guess is the answer.
I could just see the call he's getting from Zuckerberg. What did you say?
No.
What about the lines we rehearsed? But what was this about? It seems that the UK Parliament has some info we don't have.
Another problem for Facebook, the UK Parliament getting a hold of internal Facebook documents. What's in them?
So, Tyler, ahead of a panel questioning of Facebook VP tomorrow on fake news and disinformation, British Parliament has obtained internal Facebook documents from an app developer. This developer sued Facebook, alleging its data policies were anti-competitive. We don't know what's in these documents yet, and Facebook has fought to keep them private because they may include emails between senior executives. A California state court ordered to keep them under seal. But the chairman of the House of Commons Committee, which secured the documents, says they can choose to publish them if they like. So, of course, we'll have to see what happens if they do choose to publish them. But no matter what, Tyler, it's just yet another headache for Facebook.
All right.
Yeah, and the headaches just keep on coming. Zuckerberg
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I've been watching this, and since I'm not a Facebook user,
neither am I.
I think I can be pretty objective. I think they're after they looked at the numbers, Facebook this, Facebook that. Facebook is eating the media's lunch. They're $40 billion is going to Facebook that should be going to the media.
Yes.
And they finally figured out that Facebook is not their friend.
Yes. In fact, I have a clip here from Scandinavia, the CBC, Scandinavian radio. This guy actually has it figured out, and he can't believe that the Scandinavian broadcasting also don't just see what is happening to them.
Why does CBC trust Facebook? Why does every outlet on CBC tell its listeners to go like them on Facebook?
Or not just CBC, but other journalistic entities as well.
But we're CBC, so I don't care about the other journalistic entities. Why do the people at CBC mandate that CBC personnel promote Facebook? Why does CBC continue to engage in commercial relationships with Facebook? Now that it's clear to us that Facebook is a threat to democracy, and CBC as a public broadcaster should be strengthening democracy. So I would like to hear from the senior managers of this corporation, which I do not work for, very clearly. And further, every time I've appeared on this show to talk about Facebook, Facebook has complained to CBC, and CBC has not defended me or has not defended our right to have these conversations, although Metro Morning does.
We're still having them, yeah.
Right? And that, to me, is the hypocrisy of our reporting on Facebook, that we talk about it, but as a company, we do nothing.
Jesse, thank you.
Hopefully I'll come back, but if not, thanks, everybody.
Jesse Hirsch, our technology columnist on Metro Morning.
Jesse, at the end, should have said, like me on Facebook. Yeah, would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
But that's a point that's well made. I mean, they do it on all these networks. Like us on Facebook. Like us on... Why?
Yeah.
Why should they like you on Facebook? I mean, these media companies are stupid. They've always been stupid. I'm going to bring back a story that's, a lot of listeners have heard a couple of times. I'll tell it again. You were there. When Craig Newmark was telling, when the Phil Bernstein was telling the story back in the day when Craig Newmark, the guy who does Craigslist, walked into the Chronicle, this big newspaper in San Francisco, and said, "Hey, I've got this thing about doing classifieds. I think we should team up and we can take the classified world over." And it was like the newspaper guy said, "Get out of here. What do you know about anything? Get out. Yeah. And so they lost their edge. But these guys have always been that way. The newspapers have never been able to predict their own demise because of the internet. They can't figure out that advertising works differently on the internet than it does in print. And so they're stupid when it comes to Facebook.
And
but I think now they're starting to beat up Facebook in an unwarranted manner.
Well,
I don't think Zuckerberg has to go to the Parliament. He's got nothing to do with them. Tell him to sod off, as they would say.
Sawed off. Well, there's more coming down the pike for that. And if I were mainstream, I'd be making a big deal out of this. The Department of Justice this week unsealed charges against 8 individuals in, they're saying, one of the largest digital advertising frauds, runs in the billions. Looks like there's a lot of Russian names here. So I don't even know where these guys are, but the department unsealed all this. They had a federal court seal. I don't know why. They had seizure warrants. FBI took over 31 domains, 89 servers, botnets, the whole thing, and was very sophisticated. They had 1,900 servers that were just replicating people. Doing the mouse thing.
This is
and
a
everything.
big deal in the business.
Yeah, so finally this is now out. This is where you want to go after the jugular. Yeah, you want to go for the jugular.
This has been going on for over a decade.
And we've been talking about it, of course. So now, we have here, there's all kinds of stories coming out about this now. Here, 2 international cyber criminal rings dismantled and 8 defendants indicted for causing billions of dollars in losses in digital advertising fraud. Finally, someone's going to figure out how phony it really is. They also Facebag with their 2 billion served. How can you have 2 billion? How can you still say we served 2 billion people when you deleted 500 million? Yeah. I mean, come on. Can someone please just do this arithmetic? And the last thing for Zuck, this New York Times report, which no one talks about, where there was some anti-Semitism going on, which they did on purpose. Hey, let's get these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about George Soros out there. Well, that does not sit well with the hospital, San Francisco General Hospital, which was the whole hospital named after Zuckerberg? Or a wing? He gave $75 million to the hospital's foundation in 2015. I think it's
now called the Zuckerberg General or something like that.
Well, they're going to take it off.
There's 2 big donors in San Francisco to hospitals, him and our Salesforce guy.
Benioff.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking his name off for the Jew thing. Yeah. 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 On Tuesday. Listen, I'll read it to you. On Tuesday, San Francisco Supervisor Aaron Peskin reportedly proposed the city remove Zuckerberg's name from San Francisco General Hospital.
That's a proposal.
Which was renamed. It's not normal for private, he says, it's not normal for private entities to use information to spread, in this case, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories on platforms they control. Believe me, John, when you do this, especially Zuckerberg as a Jew, he's the worst kind of Jew you can be.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not saying he's not the worst kind of Jew one way or the other. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't care. They're not taking his name off that hospital.
All right.
Too much money is involved.
I'm sure Benioff would be fine just jumping in just to mess with the guy. Or someone will.
Benioff's got his own thing. It's the other system that he's in a different hospital system. He's giving money to them and UCSF or something like that. And he's got a Benioff this, Benioff that.
Yeah.
No, Zuckerberg's going to – no, there's no way.
Well, he's out there saying it, so –
yeah, the city council of San Francisco are a bunch of douchebags. They say stuff just to get attention.
Hey, this, I don't have any clips or anything. I could, but we haven't talked about it much. This CRISPR thing, this gene editing.
Oh, I have the clip.
Oh, fantastic!
Because apparently he's got another person all ready to go. Chinese genetics part 2.
A Chinese scientist who says he engineered the first genetically edited babies now says another pregnancy is underway. He Zhenkui made the announcement today at an international conference in Hong Kong. There's been no independent confirmation of his claims, but scientists have condemned his experiments.
Do you think this is really true, that he's really been successful at this?
Could be a fake. There's been a lot of medical fraud.
Well, a lot of people are really into this CRISPR thing, this gene editing.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Oh, here comes the baby now. Oh, it's a girl.
Born talking. Just a gene switch. I got to meet the first clone dog years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I was in Korea.
That's what started it.
Yeah, it started. I met it. I forgot the name of this dog, but it was big. I can't remember what kind of dog it was. Big dog. Nice guy. Seemed like a regular dog to me. Could be a fake, but I think it was the real thing. Clone dog came out on stage. Everybody got to pet him.
It was very funny. piece from John Bolton, who I still don't understand why he's in government at all. I do not like this guy.
I know he's got the goods on somebody.
Yes, I don't know how he did it, but anyway, he pretty much gave me now 100% assurance there is no tape of Khashoggi's murder. There is no tape of it, and he's going to try and weasel out of it. But it really just strengthens my thought that there's no tape.
Let me take the question of the tape first. No, I haven't listened to it. And I guess I should ask you, why do you think I should? What do you think I'll learn from it?
Well, you're the National Security Advisor. You might have access to that sort of intelligence.
How many in this room speak Arabic?
You don't have access to an interpreter?
Well, you want me to listen to it? What am I going to learn from? I mean, if they were speaking Korean, I wouldn't learn any more from it either.
The interpreter would be able to tell you what's going on.
Then I can read a transcript, too.
Okay, so you don't think it's important to hear that as a national security advisor?
I'm just trying to make the point that everybody who says, why don't you listen to the tape, unless you speak Arabic, what are you going to get from it?
Have you read it?
Really? The president has spoken to our position on this issue. He's spoken very clearly, and that is our position.
Yeah, there's no tape. And of course we want to hear that, but they're all too chicken shit to say, we want to hear the murder. That's what we want to hear. We don't care what language it's in. We want to hear brrr. We want to hear the saw going with the bone saw. We want to hear the guy going, and come on. If this tape existed, surely someone would have it by now. But no, there's a transcript. We just say, oh, there's a tape. Here's the transcript. It's the oldest trick in the book.
I'm not going to argue. You might be right. There may be the whole thing could be something of a hoax. And what do they have the tape for in the first place? They're supposed to have a video, too, they said at the beginning, if you remember.
Yeah, we want to see the video.
That? Let's just see the video. We don't want to see the tape.
Well, now,
listen to the tape. Let's see the video.
It's just gone off into the annals of truthiness, John. It'll now forever be that way. There was a tape, and there was a buzzsaw, and they killed him, and there was video, and don't worry about it. That's just what happened. Now, there's a little extra meme to all of this, and it's mind-boggling. Whereas 2 years ago, even before the election, we know that there was collusion. We had lots of collusion.
Any collusion?
Between the Russians and Trump. And it's because Trump is under control by Putin. And he has all these financial and business ties. He just boasted about how much money he makes. And so that's why he's always been acting in Russia's best interest because of his own personal interest and financial and business interest in Russia. And now, although we have never heard it before, really to this degree, it's time to roll out the same script for KSA, being the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Here is Adam Schiff. He is now the chair of the Intelligence Committee.
Now, one of the things that you want to probe is the president's relationship with Saudi Arabia. You told the Washington Post you have an idea that the president is going easy on Saudi Arabia because of his business interests, and that you want to look into that. Do you have any evidence to support that going in?
Well, look, the president is not being honest with the country about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. I think in part he feels that by saying that we don't know, or that the world is a dangerous place, or everybody does it, he thinks it makes him look strong. It actually makes him look weak. It means that our allies don't respect us, our enemies don't fear us. What is driving this? I don't know. Whether this is simply an affinity that he has for autocrats, he seems to choose them repeatedly over his own intelligence agencies, or whether there's a financial motivation, that is his own personal finances. We do know, of course, he has openly bragged about how many millions he makes from Saudi Arabia. Is his personal financial interest driving U.S. policy in the Gulf? Is it driving U.S. policy vis-a-vis the Russians? We don't know, but it would be irresponsible not to find out.
And how far are you going to dig on that?
Well, this will not be the work alone of the Intelligence Committee. It'll be our responsibility to make sure that we're getting good intelligence on not just the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, but also Saudi policy vis-a-vis Qatar in Yemen, and that the Congress is informed, that we can make good policy decisions, that we can truth tell if the president is misrepresenting the matter to the American people, so that we have a foreign policy that is driven by American interests, not by some interests of the president. So that will be our responsibility. I think others will also have the responsibility of looking at Are there financial entanglements with the Gulf? Are there financial inducements that the president has not to want to cross the Saudis? That cannot be allowed to drive U.S. policy.
Okay, couple of things here. First of all, what the hell is this? We're going to truth tell. This is new for me. So we'll be able to truth tell the public about it. Is that short for telling the truth?
Well, I don't know why we'd use that term.
I've never heard of it. Okay. And then the other thing...
the guy's a lizard, so you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
But, the American public voted for a majority in the House of Representatives, which is great. So now go do stuff. I mean, the president doesn't make laws and doesn't, he said he had international treaties, but you're in charge. Just go make the policy you want to make. And I can't be the only one who's tired of this investigating everything. And the same goes for the Republicans. It's tiring. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Well, you're saying it, and you better believe it.
Yeah, it's just, come on, man.
The more truth-telling is the better.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm truth-telling you right now, bro. I'm truth-telling you.
Truth-telling.
Oh, I got a funny one here. Chunk. We haven't talked about Chunk in a long time. Chunk was on with Seltzer Water Boy, Brian Stelter, on whatever his media show is. And he's talking about AOC, and he says something really appropriate, which fries Seltzer Water's brain. I mean, and it's just, he's like, you guys are the problem. And I'll play it until we're tired of hearing him. But what I found interesting was how Seltzer Water pronounces his name. Now, it's C-E-N-K. And we always say Chunk, but what is it? What is it really? Chink? Shank?
Shank, I think. Something or Ugar.
Yeah, let's listen to a Seltzer.
So Drank, as Trump is to Twitter. So Drank, as Trump. So Drank, as Trump is to Twitter, is Ocasio-Cortez to Instagram. Is that one of the lessons here? She's using a new platform in a new way?
Well, I mean, look, you can say that Trump was untethered from the donors in a sense as well, because he didn't raise enough money from them. And so hence he was able to speak out more vociferously on social media as Ocasio-Cortez does on the left. But I got to say one thing in her defense from what you just mentioned, Brian. Look, you say she doesn't do enough interviews on television now, but let's be fair. When she needed those interviews, you guys weren't there for her. So before the election, almost no one in mainstream media covered.
But our job isn't there to be there for anybody.
No. But Brian, it isn't about being there or being or not. It's about you guys didn't think she had a chance, so you didn't give her any outlet at all. And so the people in her district didn't get a real sense of who had the better point of view. She overcame that anyway and went on to win. So if you think, hey, well, she's got to go on television to speak to the people, apparently she didn't. She had to go on the Young Turks and social media to speak to the people, and she did, and she won. So she doesn't owe television anything. She doesn't owe the corporate Democrats anything. She doesn't owe Republicans anything. So she can go on and make her case anywhere she likes, and it's incredibly effective.
I think the guy's making a very good point, and I agree that I've always said, watch out for AOC, ma'am. You don't have to be smart, and I think lots of people would agree with me that to be president even.
She's an elected official.
I'm sorry. More interviews, the better.
But she's an elected official. She certainly owes the media, the public, her voice. And
do you hear these? This is going to be very interesting to watch. Now they're all offended. Well, she owes the media, owes us.
Answering questions. I take your point about her not getting enough attention before she won, but I don't think that's particularly unusual for somebody running for Congress. She was not running for president. I think then it would be a different story.
All right, Jen, thank you. I think that. Sorry, Jen, last word.
Just real quick. Look, I think that unfortunately,
hold on, stop. This is where Chunk should say, well, that's a great argument, except you guys also didn't cover Bernie Sanders very well when he was getting the same kind of crowds that Trump was getting.
Yes.
And saying crazy stuff that different than Trump, who's from the other side. But he had huge audiences and it deserved some coverage. You guys didn't cover him at all in favor of Hillary. Did he say that?
No, of course not. How he go? I don't. Nah, he goes into this thing about because. Well, I'll play his argument. But you're so right, and if only Bernie had understood how to use Twitter effectively. He could have killed it. Yeah, it's not in his DNA. He doesn't understand it. But they're really kind of like, what are you saying? You can't be a politician without the media. That's pretty much what Jank is saying. And I think he's right that you don't need it. But these people, they're not happy. Now, his reason for it, you'll hear now, is kind of meh.
Not running for president. I think then it would be a different story.
All right,
No,
Cenk, thank you.
I think that...
Sorry, Cenk, last word.
Just real quick, look, I think that unfortunately the media covers people with more money, and a lot of that is corporate money. And so it's not just about Ocasio-Cortez, it's about the future. And in 2020, will you cover progressive candidates that run uncorrupted? And my guess is no. And then you'll turn around and sometimes blame them later.
Journalists should cover progressive candidates and conservative candidates. We should cover them and make sure people know about both of them. But I hear
Absolutely.
your point.
Absolutely, but unfortunately, you give an advantage to people with more money, and you do it all the time. And unfortunately, I think it aids and abets corruption.
I would love to discuss that more with you in the future. I'm not sure how we support candidates that have more donor money. That's your argument, that because they have more donor money, they get more news coverage?
This idiot doesn't even understand how it works, and he's in the middle of it. He does the media show. What? You're saying people who raise a lot of money, they get more attention? No,
Brian, are you saying that not everybody in the media says, well, that person has a better chance of winning because they have more money, so there's this obsession with who's raised more money and hence is more legitimate? That's the view in the mainstream media, which is not held in the actual elections.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. Cenk, thanks so much for being here.
Interesting, Cenk. Great, Drank. Thank you very much. It's great. Thanks for being here, Dick. You're never getting on again, my show. Tell me about that.
You're right about that.
Tell me how media works.
He's not going to get on there again.
Nope.
You can't go on the media and accuse them of all these things. You got to cozy up to them.
Yeah, he's always in
can't be honest.
He's in a state of dissonance all the time. Cenk. Because he has good thoughts. I mean, that's very much the way I think about things, which of course makes it good.
Well, it's just a media thought. It's just like the realism of being realistic.
Right. But then, he forgets to point out the Bernie Sanders part.
Doesn't know anything about the media for some reason.
He's doing the media show.
He's doing the media show. That's the great irony of that network.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank for show 1090. Starting with Sir Hank Scorpio in Gatineau, Quebec, 15329. And it was made in Canadian dollars. He may be...
Oh, that might have been 200 Scandinavian doubloons.
It could be
153.29. Let me see.
We'll move him up to associate executive.
153 Canadian in U.S. dollars. Let's see. Oh, that would be the other way around, actually. U.S. dollars in Canadian. Okay. Come on, Google.
You can do it.
Well, that didn't work.
It doesn't even work.
It doesn't even work, man.
I'll read his donation note, assuming that this is the case.
Okay.
This night is in need of some serious jobs karma. For the past 5 years, I've been competing in apprenticeship to become a power lineman tech. Over the last 5 years, I've traveled all across the province of Ontario working, and No Agenda has been there keeping me entertained and informed for the ride. Now that I'm qualified, I will be given full-time placement somewhere in Ontario. It's a big province, so I ask for some tried and true NA jobs karma, placement karma. Anywhere close to Ottawa will do nicely. Yes. I think the GOAT may be able to help out on this one as well. I think you could work him in there at some point. Adam, thank you for your courage, Sir Hank Scorpio.
Yes, $153 is $203 Scandinavian. We actually won on the deal. Kind of. I'm not sure. Yeah, he moves up to executive producership, associate executive producership, as should be. And, of course, we play whatever he requests.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Well, that should do the trick.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Anything does. Brian Mon in Burlington, Wisconsin, 126. And he's got a 50th birthday thing. De-douching is what he's needing here today.
You've been de-douched.
And he says, face bag free since March and loving it. Thanks.
Huh. And he says the TSA tips work.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard Force in Zug, Switzerland.
Which is now Crypto Valley.
$109.
He requested that, so I just threw it in.
Anonymous in California, $109. He sent a note in that is touching because it's like a problematic situation that he lives within.
Now he's going to be he's going to be knighted today. He's going to be knighted.
Yeah, he's going to be knighted, and he's got a birthday for his wife.
What's going on? What's problematic? How can we help? The doctor is in. What's going on?
It's something we can't do anything about.
Oh,
I don't think. He goes on and says he's been twice a week. He likes the show. He doesn't like to listen to mainstream media, along with the daily meditation practice, which has been remarkably beneficial in managing the size of my amygdala or amygdalae, because he has two. Anticipated holiday expenses will not allow me to send any more funds your way this year, but it appears the donation I secure my knighthood, even though I thought it was assured years ago when I sent 1 Bitcoin as a donation to the daily source code in hopes that Adam might consider a crypto donation. Okay, goes on about that. I know it's early, but I'd like to give my smoking hot wife Pamela a birthday call out when she hits her next milestone on December 11th. Alas, her amygdalae are under constant stress since her face bag news feed is overwhelmed with Trump hatred.
Oh, no.
So she despises the No Agenda show. And she makes me turn it off whenever she is in range of the sound of the podcast. The only way I might persuade her to listen to an entire show would be to honor her in this way, so I hope she appreciates the gesture. Well, that's not going to happen.
No, I don't. I think that may be problematic. Is this his wife or girlfriend?
Wife.
Mm-hmm.
I truly appreciate what you two are doing, and because no one else in the media seems to exercise critical thinking, leaving the rest of us under constant assault from all sides by screaming morons telling us how to speak, think, and act to avoid offending anyone, no matter how much they themselves may offend me. Thankfully, I have a thicker hide than most of them do and can obviously take quite a bit more abuse without even a sniffle from my bruised ego.
So the
73s.
73s. The doctor is in. Here's what I would recommend. If you're going to let her hear anything, this is the series. Here's how I do it. First, you take a snippet of the birthday segment, and maybe this segment, edit out everything that we just said, like burr, 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 all that stuff, get it out. Then edit in the birthday wish, which is pretty straightforward. And then say, darling, you can call her darling, sweetheart, honey bun. But I think that we both would really benefit. I've already seen this myself. If we just didn't go on Facebook for a while, let's do it together. Let's just do it together, and let's just see if we feel any different after, say, a month. And if we feel a little better, then we'll go for another month. And then around month 3, then you start slipping in the best podcast in the universe. And this episode, too, by the way. So she'll remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. It may work, but I would not just say, hey, listen to this show. It's great. Happy birthday. Doesn't.
Yeah, try flowers. That's my opinion.
Yeah, try
You're not going to get anywhere with anything. Facebook is addicting.
Yes. Oh, I have a clip about that later on. All right.
Onward. Sir Steve in Ewing, New Jersey, 10101. He wants some Jobs Karma. Would give him some of that at the end.
Happy Friendsgiving, he says. Yes. You got it, Sir Steve. You got it, Sir Steve.
Yeah, Joseph Harrell in Moyoke, North Carolina, 100. Jonathan Rose in Netanya.
Oh, is that
Israel.
Sir
He's
Jono?
Israeli, yes.
Sir Jono.
He likes the ironic Hitler 999 from the Jew. What does it say? From the
for the
Jew donation.
The Jew donation.
Sir Jono.
This one.
So Sir Jono rhymes with Bono. So
then it's Sir Jono.
Oh, you pronounce it so different.
Yeah. If it rhymes with Bono, whose name is Bono, then it's Sir Jono.
It's not Bono?
No, Joan. I'm just call you Joan. Joan C. Dvorak.
Sir Stephen Hutto is in St. Petersburg, Florida. Came with 7070. Anonymous 6666. I had some jobs karma for you. Michael Robinson 5433. Sir Eric Hochul in Deutschland came through it perfectly this time. Joe Bissessi, parts unknown. William Wellborn in Kennesaw, Georgia. Bissessi is at 5038 and Hochul is at 52. William Wellborn 5033 in Kennesaw, Georgia. Very famous place. He says, according to the Wikipedia, the California Zephyr has 33 stops on its route. Coincidence? I think not. Huh. I'll have to look that up. Brian Burgess in Pelican Rapids, Minnesota. 5033. He says, if people are getting sick because of Trump coverage, it's really on them, not the show. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Scott Nelson, 5001 in Melbourne, Florida. Darren Deniszewski. Deniszewski.
No. Deniszewicz.
Deniszewicz?
Mm-hmm.
Could be. Anyways, in Dubai. Hey, Dubai. We have some reports, some photos.
Hi, Dubai. Yes.
Sir Peter Tote's up there in Sugarland, Texas.
Yep.
Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. Robert Makowski in Rhinebeck, New York. Adam Eng. These are all $50 donors, by the way, from Darren in Dubai, Peter, and onward.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Eng in Windsor, California, 50. Louis Pastor in Miami, Florida. Sir Paul from Horseheads. Jose Ferreira in Newbury, Berkshire, UK. And last but not least, Sonia Gergis in Somerset, New York.
Yes.
You guys are the best, she says. Thanks and Merry Christmas.
Merry Amygdala to you too.
All right.
Good list. Thank you very much, everybody, for supporting the show. It was fun talking about our model again last night with the Apple guys. Everyone really agrees. Everyone really agrees. We've really hit it on the head. That's the way to do it. But the problem is everyone thinks there's shortcuts, so it takes a while. And you need an outstanding product. It takes a lot of work.
You have to have the product is paramount.
Number one, yeah. I mean, if you're not selling people as the product, you got to have a really, really good product, and that's always the problem. People think they're good, and they're just not. And it's very difficult to be good. Witness our own show. We have our ups and downs. Thank you again. Also, thanks to everybody who came in under $50, many for anonymous reasons, but also on a lot of our different programs, our layaway programs, just monthly subscriptions. We appreciate it all very much. And we will bring you another program on Sunday right here on the best podcast in the universe, noagendashow.com. Please support us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's a birthday on No Agenda.
And here we go with our birthday list for today. It is the 29th of November, 2018. We say happy birthday to Francisco Tejeda. Anonymous in NorCal says happy birthday to Pamela, who celebrates on December 11th. Adam Eng says happy birthday to his brother Zach, turning 36 on November 29th. Mareike Jungmann says happy birthday to her mom. She turns 58 today. And strangely, not on the list is the letter we had. Who was it again, Jeff? Yeah, the guy with his wife.
You might as well mention Jessie. She's just had her birthday, so it's Mimi.
Jessie, and then who was the guy with his wife?
That's the one we read.
Is that the dude?
That was on there. That was Pamela.
Yeah, Pamela. Yeah, but who was it saying happy birthday to Pamela?
Anonymous. It's anonymous.
Well, anonymous. Okay, I got it. Happy birthday, everybody. And please stay away from FaceBag. Happy birthday from your best podcast in the universe. Very confusing. Sorry, I messed it up. I messed that one up.
No, you didn't. It was I messed it up earlier.
All right. Let's do some knightings. We got a full table.
Now you're
full
talking.
Table. Thank you very much. Come on up here. two anonymouses. You know who you both are. Also, Francisco Tejeda and Michael Howie. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. That gives you a seat here at our round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames, and I am very proud to pronounce the Sir Silent Knight, Sir Fomer Brahim of the Tehachapi Loop, Sir Dude named Ben Anonymous, and Sir Michael of Calgary and Vegas. Gentlemen, for you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Hobo Stew and Fortified Wine, Pog and Poi, Geishas and Sake, Breast Milk and Pablum, Bong Hits and Bourbon, Rubenesque Women and Rosé, and, of course, Mutton and Mead. All of you, head over to noagendanation.com/rings. Pick up don't pick up anything. In order to pick them up, you've got to send off your information to Eric the Shill. That's what it is. And that is your ring size. He'll get it off to you as soon as possible. And please remember also for other knights who are receiving their rings, it's great when you tweet them out, put them on Mastodon. We'll boost them. And thank you again for supporting us. Dvorak.org/NA.
Now, here we have ham radio, guys. Ham radio is the public service network of last resort. When the apocalypse comes, we're the guys who are going to save the world, right?
Right? I'm rebooting our hams. It's time. And there's a reason for it. There's a new mode, John. I don't know if you keep up with the ham developments.
I try.
There's a new digital mode, which is FT8. And FT8 does something very amazing. It takes very low power and very quickly is able to exchange information with other stations. And it can do this all over the globe. It's done purely through propagation, shit bouncing off asteroids, meteorites, the moon. I don't know. It's insane how well it works. Really phenomenal because you can do this on very low power.
Do you need special licensing for this?
Well, interestingly, you can do it with a technician license. I think there may be some people doing it on VHF, UHF, but HF is where all the action is. And yes, you will need your license for that as well. But that, you'd need a general license in order to do that, to get to these frequencies where everyone is. But there's a new version of it already called JS8 Call. And this allows you to do a whole bunch of incredibly cool things. Besides just actually, instead of sending just your call sign, you can send messages. It does about 10 words per minute. Is the speed, which considering, I'll give you an example, 5 watts, you can get around the globe with conditions being right, but even when conditions aren't that great, it does very well. And just think of a light bulb, just how much energy is 5 watts really. It's not a lot of energy. But what's also cool is you can relay stuff and you can have auto answer. And so I can send a message to a station, say, relay this message so everyone near you hears it or within your reach, which could be a much more powerful station. You can have auto answer with certain information, and you can just, basically text back and forth. So what I'd like to do is I want to set up a no agenda ham network with this system because everyone can kind of participate. If you're a ham, you don't necessarily need the huge antenna, but we can connect all of our rigs together and do some relaying and rag chew together. Talk about our gear.
Rag chew.
Talk about our gear.
Hey, I'm in the truck right now in the driveway, and I'm about to go in and see the missus.
The YL. The YL, the young lady, the YL,
When the apocalypse comes, we're the guys who are going to save the world, right?
So be on the lookout for that No Agenda hams. We have a lot of them. So I wanted to reboot that. It's important that we keep our networks running.
I agree.
Are you going to join in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
Now, I wanted to get this out of the way, which was, it looks like there was a 6-week cycle on the money event.
Uh-huh.
That was a fail, and then they had to backtrack, and it became this huge nightmare. Nobody knows, and we can't get any reporting on it or anything else. I do remember when it happened, and this is the you can play this clip. It pretty much explains most of the 6-week cycle.
Before I actually play it, just for those who are new and may not know what the 6-week cycle is, we have it on good authority that the FBI in particular, possibly other government agencies, but the FBI creates some havoc somewhere and saves us from imminent death about every 6 weeks. And usually it's some patsy that they give a fake bombs to. They rent the van for him, give him the fake detonator button, and as he presses it, they swoop in and they've saved the day once again, and that keeps the budgets flowing. It happens every 6 weeks. Let's see what happened in this cycle.
We are going to be in tonight here with a false alarm that sure looked like the real thing at America's Hospital, Walter Reed National Military Medical Center just outside Washington, D.C. That is where presidents have their checkups and wounded warriors are treated. Today, police and first responders swarmed the facility after someone apparently made a monumental mistake. Here's David Martin.
It was just after 2 p.m. this afternoon when SWAT teams responded to reports of an active shooter at Walter Reed Medical Center, where American servicemen and women recover from their wounds. It turned out to be just a drill gone wrong, but no one told the patients and staff, some of whom sheltered in place. They just evacuated us out into a parking garage, a medical technician texted CBS News, estimating the number of evacuees at between 80 and 90. We're being told it was a drill, CBS texted back. We were told it's not a drill, he replied. Among those who took shelter were an amputee and a veteran suffering from traumatic brain injury. One of them told CBS News patients were loaded into wheelchairs, some holding crutches over their heads. Those who could walk were pushing the wheelchairs. There was fear. Some guys grabbed baseball bats or whatever there was to defend themselves. From the Pentagon to the FBI to local law enforcement to Maryland Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger, who was there, everyone thought it was the real thing.
There were people that were very concerned and upset and afraid. It's my understanding that Montgomery County Police came and didn't know about it. There were a lot of people that really had serious issues.
The Navy, which runs Walter Reed, later found out that one of the medical center's subordinate commands had been planning a drill and as part of the planning accidentally triggered the alert. The Navy called that an improper use of the warning system. Jeff?
All right, David Martin, thank you very much.
That's no 6 week cycle. That's not even close. There's no FBI involved. It's completely, that has nothing to do with it.
No, you look into it, the FBI is involved.
Yeah.
They just backed off because this was a disaster.
Now, did they still
they didn't want to have their name associated with it.
Do you think they still have to pay the crisis actors their per diem?
I don't know what to do. I don't think they even put him in place. I think the whole thing was just
botched from the beginning.
It was
botched. Ebola. I've been looking at the Democratic Republic of Congo as Ebola has sparked up again. What we're waiting for at the No Agenda Show is for the military to be sent over because there's all kinds of groovy stuff we want to protect, and it's not the Ebola patients.
Congo has begun the first ever trial to test the effectiveness and safety of 4 experimental Ebola drugs. The World Health Organization calls it a giant step toward finding a treatment that will save lives. So far, the current outbreak in Congo, there have been 365 confirmed Ebola cases. 189 of those patients have died.
How does this work? I thought they had they already did a trial for Ebola.
I thought they had a vaccine.
Hold on, let's see. We have the old.
And by the way, isn't this number higher than the one that got all the publicity just a few years ago?
Let's see. I have an old clip from this is Sanjay Gupta on the vaccine.
And again, non-essential travelers no longer go to West Africa. They talked about several different things, including a question that comes up quite a bit with regard to vaccines or some sort of treatment for patients with Ebola. And Dr. Frieden, who's the head of the CDC, said, look, he believes that's still a year away before something like that's approved.
And this is 2014, this clip. So they just gave up and just stopped making. They did, no need to go. 5 years, you still haven't figured it out?
It doesn't mean things like that won't get used in an experimental, more compassionate use standpoint. But the idea about having a vaccine available for mass vaccinations, that's just not going to be available, he thinks, for at least a year. So probably not during this particular outbreak.
Well, I'd like to know why
what happened since the year went by.
Yeah, but
this was 2014, so it's supposed to be ready in 2015. Now we're in 2018, and there's nothing, and nobody talking about anything. What, are you kidding me?
Here's Fauci from the same. Let me see if it's the same date.
Fauci, yeah, this is the old Fauci. Yeah,
this is the old.
Thanks, Brolf.
That's Fauci. Also from 2014. Let's see what he says.
Finally, there was a story in the New York Times this week. Mike Leventhal.
And New York Times, it must be true.
Referred to it at the end of his report that scientists had come up with a vaccine a decade ago that was 100% effective in stopping Ebola in monkeys. But because of the fact that the disease then was so rare that there wasn't a market, there wasn't an incentive to test it and to develop it. Question, is there some way, first of all, do you think we could have had, if there had been a full-speed effort 10 years ago, could we have had an Ebola vaccine by now? And secondly, is there some way, when there is so little market for it, that we can get these things developed just in case we get into this kind of situation?
Okay. Answer to both questions. Certainly, without pharmaceutical backing, you're not going to get a vaccine.
Didn't we give these guys money for this, too? I remember there was some funds made available.
Well, I thought that was mostly for Zika.
For sure. We could have.
Well, that's when Ebola turned to Zika.
Had one now you can't predict because there's scientific issues there. We may not scientifically have been able to do it.
Yeah.
But what the government is doing now through a program called BARDA, the Biomedical Advanced Research Development Authority, is to be able to finance things where you can stockpile. So the government is realizing that even if there isn't the need out.
Lies. Just lies. It's just all lies. So this has been going on for 15 years then.
Well, they talked about 2004.
Yeah, so 15 years.
Yeah, 14, 15.
So it's not about Ebola. I just don't believe it. It's just a lie.
And in the black trunks, weighing in at over 3,000 troops, the ISIS of virus, the killer from Nigeria, Ebola!
Woo! Let's see how we do in the Congo. Troops are coming.
Small heads are coming.
No, that's only Zika.
Oh, right. I keep mixing all these memes up. Let's play a little kind of a throwaway clip I got here.
Mm-hmm.
This is on, apparently they found a bunch of manuscripts from Malcolm X's book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, very famous story that was, I guess, edited quite a bit because Malcolm was a little more mean-spirited than they put him out to be in the book.
Okay, yeah.
In one paragraph, Haley softened Malcolm's immoral white devil to read Fat Cat Whites. It was further watered down in the published book to Two-Face Whites. In another,
he could write for The Guardian.
Malcolm said the American black man is wasting his time, straining to integrate. It can't be done. That phrase also didn't make it into the book.
I think the question that scholars are going to ask is he helping shape the message? And, was there something that Haley had as an agenda? And I think it's complicated. I think Malcolm X really shines through from the first page. I have no doubt that is Malcolm X's story, and it's a very American one.
Malcolm was often critical of Martin Luther King's approach to racial progress. But in this 24-page chapter titled The Negro, one of 3 that went unpublished, Malcolm uncannily predicted America would one day elect an African-American president in the year 2000.
Oh, in the year 2000?
Yeah.
He was late.
He was off by 8 years.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Close enough.
No doubt we can do that. There's a big article in the New York Times that a lot of people are talking about, and it's a feature story. It's a big deal. It's actually New York Times Magazine. I'm sorry. Feature story. The insect apocalypse is here. What does it mean?
Talking about feeding us insects?
No, well, this is what I was going to ask you. So it's a long story, almost Shaggy Dog from the author, him or herself. About bugs and I used to have, when I was riding my bike, I had to keep my mouth closed, and I've noticed there's less bugs. I'm not getting so many bugs, and this of course is due to global warming. I don't have to tell you that. That's
going to be more bugs with global warming.
Well, but my question is, how can you be all worried about the bug apocalypse, and then you want people to eat the rest that are still here?
Oh, you're right.
I don't understand.
You found the fly in the ointment, as it were.
Very good job.
Bugs.
Yes. Fly in the ointment. Thank you. Good one.
Tastes like poop.
Yeah. Well, we were right. Actually, I should say, one of our producers was very right in bringing the story to my attention initially. The Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, the crash, the Lion Air. That seems like we were spot on about what happened.
This afternoon, we are all going to get an alert on our phone.
That's not what you wanted to hear. This is what you wanted to hear.
Investigators are revealing more findings into that deadly Lion Air crash last month in Southeast Asia. I'm sure you'll remember it. A preliminary report found the plane was not airworthy because there were technical problems reported on previous flights. The pilots struggled with an automated anti-stalling system that repeatedly forced the plane's nose down, but it's unclear why the pilots did not follow procedures to disable the system.
To characterize this as a roller coaster ride from hell would not be an overstatement. But very simply, what happened here was there is a new system in the Boeing 737 MAX, which is different from the old Boeing 737 airplanes. It wasn't in the old planes, it's in the new plane. And this new system was put in because of some unique characteristics about the new plane. Essentially what it is, it's called the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS, and it's designed to basically take control of the airplane away from the pilot, a kind of autopilot, but not an autopilot, to prevent the plane from stalling. And stalling is not like your car stalling. It's when there's not enough air traveling over the wing to create enough lift to keep the plane in the air. So in this instance, very simply, what happened was the plane took off. As soon as they raised the flaps, this new system, this MCAS system, kicked in. It thought, because of probably a defective angle of attack sensor, that the nose of the airplane was way up in the air or higher than it was, and it automatically pushed the nose of the plane down. The pilot and the co-pilot were not trained on how to react to this. If you believe Lion Air, it was not in the operating manual. If you believe the Allied Pilots Association, there was little or no information about this new system disclosed to flight crews, including the Lion Air plane. And so they were in a situation which was completely new and tragic.
So now we're just waiting to see who's going to get sued over this.
Well, the story I heard was that there was a bunch of our Southwest is a big 737 user, and the pilots that had interaction with the MAX said they never heard of this. They never got a memo. The first time they heard about this whole system and that you could flip it off completely, which is what you're supposed to do in this situation.
Well, the procedure, the way it works in aviation, these procedures are documented. And while these guys were struggling, they were more than they should have been pulling out manuals and saying, okay, here's the checklist if this happens. And because you can't really think about let me try this. No, you go by the book. And the procedure should have said pull the circuit breakers and it would have been fixed. But in fact, they had different instructions based upon the behavior of the previous version of the aircraft.
The guys that were the pilots that we're talking about says, we didn't know anything about this until we saw this report in this airplane. Now we know.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I doubt if this is going to happen again because it's a horrible situation. Everybody knows about it. I think Boeing's going to get sued.
I think so too. Remember, they just brought 2 years ago, they brought their avionics in-house. So the question is, can they blame it still on some Indians or are they going to blame it on themselves?
They'll blame it on Indians.
I'm pretty sure they're going to blame it on. And we've cut all ties with with the company that we outsourced to. It'll never happen again. We're sorry. But it also showed.
Boeing did it. I mean, the 787 plane was so outsourced.
Yeah.
Because they were thinking of this new, it's a new world. We're going to outsource everything because it's global. And so they outsourced pretty much everything on the plane to the point where the plane was late by 2 years?
Yeah, at least.
They couldn't get the thing to, it was just a piece of crap because all the outsourcing cost them more money than they would have saved if they just built the damn plane up in Everett.
But it shows you technology is really going to become a massive issue in our lives. And you're going to see it with people relying on technology to get you places. So we're going to see some big outages of the Ubers, and that's going to bring down entire cities for a day. We'll see, outages with Google for Nest and your door and whatever else you tie into it. This is really, it's bad, and people rely on this so much.
Stay away.
And, one of the big industries on the internet, I'd say, and I don't know too much about it, but recruitment has got to be a huge industry. I mean, these job boards, a monster board.
I think you're right.
So they've taken another step, and they're all jitty about it too. Wait until you hear what's going on. And these guys, they're so to improve the hiring process, we're adding some more technology, which I'm sure will get you the perfect hire.
Hello, my name is Vera, and I'm a robot. And what's your name?
Hi, my name is Jason Bellini. This is Vera, a robot that does job interviews.
What are the 3 top important tips for a salesperson?
She's done 10,000 of them and counting.
Congratulations. We chose you as one of the best candidates for a sales representative.
What looks like the future is already a reality. Hiring is undergoing a revolution. Almost all Fortune 500 companies now use some form of automation. She keeps winking at me and then rolling her eyes at me. But many companies are also trying to look under the hood of job applicants and assess them in completely new ways. You're quantifying human behavior, human expressions, human voices, turning that into data.
We're now using artificial intelligence to help companies find the very best talent.
And most likely you are being analyzed by an algorithm. Experts call the proliferation of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science tools the Wild West of hiring. Critics, and even some hiring managers themselves, say they're concerned about these tools' potential for bias. They raise issues like fairness, transparency, and accuracy.
So I can just see the HR departments going, oh, this is perfect. I can also never get blamed because the computer hired that person. So I can never have a shitty hire. I can never.
Yes, absolutely. This is exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
You got your ass covered.
Yep.
It's what everybody else is doing. So it's best practice, which is like the key to success practice. To get out of getting your ass fired.
Yep. Yep.
So you do best practice and you have a robot and then you blame the robot. That's fantastic.
But what's a little more nefarious is what they're really doing. And I looked into some of these companies, about 5 of them now already who are doing this. So you sit in front of your computer, laptop, webcam, and this animated head is interviewing you. But of course, what it's really doing, and that's why it does things like it winks. And it does it's looking for your reaction. Can you imagine me with my Tourette's? I mean, she would hang up in 2 seconds. Like, I'm sorry, you're not a good candidate. We'll get rid of you. My head shaking all over the place.
Doesn't do that much, no.
That's
you don't shake.
Okay.
Well, you do. I mean,
Twitch.
You can keep from shaking. I know that for a
fact. But then if I was doing that during a job interview, I'd be like working really hard not to twitch, and then they'd be like, "Man, that guy's too uptight. We can't hire him."
Well, there's that element that doesn't exist.
I would never win.
Yes.
I would never win. Ah, jeez. But Professor Teddy K is laughing his ass off, I'm sure. Let's just rely on more technology. That'll be great. Oh, and while you're at it, finally, the veil is lifted on what Amazon is going to do in healthcare.
Amazon I just want to do one more punchline to your last comment.
Okay.
Let's rely on technology even more and more and more, and then let's shut down the nuclear devices in France so there's no electricity.
Yeah, you might want to work on
it. Sounds like a plan.
you need some work on that as a punchline.
Yeah, well, I blew it up.
Amazon is now selling software that searches patients' medical records for information that could help doctors and hospitals.
Woo!
That's according to the Wall Street Journal. The Journal's parent company and Fox News parent company share common ownership. On the searches, not surprisingly, critics say they're worried about possible privacy issues. The Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis reporting live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Hi, Shep. That's right. So big market opportunity here. Imagine 80% of hospitals in America, they are digitizing their records, or they have already, compared to 10% 10 years ago. So big opportunity there. According to some market players, that's a $7 billion marketplace. Already we see Google, we see Apple getting into healthcare. That represents a $3.2 trillion opportunity. And as you know, healthcare is only growing, only getting bigger as the population in this country ages. I want to talk a little bit about privacy, because that's obviously a very big concern. Amazon, of course, a company that knows what you're doing at home because of its Alexa apps, knows where you shop because of Amazon.com, its retail operation. But what we're hearing from Amazon itself is that Amazon Web Services will not be able to access this information. It will be encrypted. The algorithms will encrypt the details.
The algorithms will encrypt the details. Whew. Glad to hear that.
The algorithms will encrypt the details, and people will only be able to get at that information by having a key that allows them to unlock it. But as you could imagine, this is very difficult information to put on software because it's very technical. Doctors have their own code for describing some of this stuff. And they are regulated here by HIPAA, which is a long-time law in this country that protects people's privacy. So that's what we're hearing from Amazon this afternoon. Shep, back to you.
Right. So Amazon, of course, has already figured out, even a recent article in Motherboard states that people who buy smart speakers, or as we like to say on the show, talking tubes, have pretty much given up on privacy. It's like, I know, but I like the benefit of it. This is what
benefit
of turning the lights on with your voice. This is what Amazon's strategy is, because I came across another article, another service actually, called AWS Ground Station. And now I'm starting to see what they're really getting into. AWS Ground Station, so it's Amazon Web Services.
To Major Tom?
Yes. They are collecting all data that is transmitted from CubeSats, Pocket Cubes, Sun Cubes, LEOs, medium Earth orbits, geostationary orbit satellites, anything they can get their hands on. They are downloading that into AWS Ground Station and making
Skynet.
They're making it available with streaming to capture, process, and store, to process for image analysis, to build and train different kinds of models, analytics, reporting, storage. And I think if you wanted to have, like I wanted to have some process that alerts me to a specific type of event in the world that that satellite data could help me with, like, I don't know, a hurricane. I'll just make something up. Then you could set up alerts. I mean, you could do all kinds of different things with this. And I think that's kind of their strategy moving forward, which this feels a lot better than what Google is doing, because these guys do charge for everything they do. They're going to have all this health data, and they'll say, well, look, it could be very beneficial. These companies are working on things, and just integrate, you know what, why don't you upload your 23andMe data, and we've got this, we've got your health record, and if you just say, it's okay, I'll unlock it, we'll anonymize it, don't worry, there's no problem, just trust us. And this is their business. Their business is and I think it's going to be much bigger than their shopping business. They are making available just ways to parse through any kind of data that you would want, but really targeted segments, which I think actually are useful. Is it a good idea that Amazon has it all? No. Truly evil corp. But the strategy, I think, is phenomenally smart.
Who needs it?
No, well, no one needs it, but people get convinced and they get Look, 10 years ago, we were already... Listen, hear me now, believe me later. 10 years ago, we were talking about how eventually you'd have GPS trackers in your car. It would be tied into insurance, and you would be able to do without it for a while until they mandate it. And the same is going to be for health trackers on your wrist. You just won't be able to get insurance if you don't do it. We talked about this for a decade, and now it's coming to fruition. It's a beautiful thing. Our baby is being born, John. Appreciate the beauty of the gift.
Nothing to appreciate. Okay, well, thanks for that depressing news. Let's see. What do I have? I got something that's upbeat.
Okay.
Did you know anything about ice cider? Now I'm interested in getting some.
Some what?
Ice cider.
Ice cider? No.
Yeah, ice cider.
Is this a thing?
Canadians make the best ice cider.
Cider sales in the U.S. have increased nearly 500% since 2011, and the number of cideries has grown more than 4 times, from 187 to 820.
One cider product relies on winter's natural cold to turn it into liquid gold. And now the country's largest cider maker wants to take a bite out of that market. Adriana Diaz traveled to Apple Country to see how this seasonal specialty is made.
Nestled in the Quebec countryside is a farm so picturesque it looks like a living postcard. Horses graze in the pasture as their owner and his best friend roam the grounds. But despite his tranquil surroundings, Christian Bartemouf is no ordinary farmer. He's a disruptor, credited for reviving Canada's apple industry.
It takes a village, they say.
Not a village, a big town.
He did it 3 decades ago when he invented ice cider, an alcoholic apple drink akin to dessert wine. It takes advantage of something Canada has in abundance, the cold.
No, I pick apple when there is minus 10 Celsius in the apple.
Instead of picking apples in the fall, he waits until they freeze in the winter when the apple sugar peaks. He was inspired by a popular drink called ice wine, which is made from frozen grapes.
John, you've hit upon something very big here. This is an exit strategy. This is, I'm sure, millennials love this whole idea.
Oh, yeah.
Ice cider. Can you imagine Curry Dvorak ice cider? You know, we're like the 2 geezers who really know what we're doing. We can come up.
Yeah, because we're Apple experts.
Yes, we're Apple experts. We understand everything about apples, about wine. We understand that. And I think the millennials will go crazy for this stuff.
I think they're already going crazy for it.
Well, let's look into white labeling some stuff.
Okay.
Hey, you can contact us. You can contact us. Adam@curry.com. Joan at Dvorak.org. And that is your deconstruction for today, everybody. I'm going to go back to driver update hell, figure out what's going on with the machine, but hopefully everything will work. Keep your backup recordings if you're listening live on noagendastream.com, just in case. And we'll be back on Sunday. I'll be coming to you from Chicago. And I might have a travel story or 2. You never know. Until then, keep it real, y'all. Coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6 on the governmental maps in the 5x9 Cludio in the still common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley. By the way, we missed the Zephyr today. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Until then, adios, mofos! Read commercial. Enjoy.
Want to take a quick break to thank the sponsors of this week's episode, starting with cricket powder. So don't worry, there's no antennas or legs or a cardamom flavored one. Antennas or legs or like cricket powder flavors. Take a quick break to thank the sponsors of this week's episode. The most important about them. Sponsors of this week's episode. One that I like. There's a cardamom flavored one that I'm important about them is like cardamom flavored one. This is the future of food, you guys. Yummy snack food, you guys. Cricket powder food, you guys. So these are snacks, yummy flavors, antennas or legs, like cricket powder flavors. Like there's these are guys the future of food. This week's episode, there's no like antennas or legs or like there's a cardamom food, you guys. Simple too. They have yummy flavors, food, you guys. So these are the future of food. Super yummy, you know, cognitively crackers. Like there's a card made from don't know cricket powder. Yummy snacks made with cricket powder.
Read commercial. Enjoy.
Want to take a quick break? The future of food. This week's episode made with like antennas or legs or a cardamom flim food, you guys. So cardamom powder. So these are cardamom flim antennas or legs snacks made quick start are snacks made quick bars are snack like weird little crunchy bits. These are flim powder that I'm really partial to. Crunchy bits.
We're going to engage in some reckless speculation here, so I'm all in favor of that.
A lot of friends of friends doing things to put you in this position that you are now in, correct?
Sure. Journalism is dead.
The Guardian, that's in the UK, claims Tall Paul secretly met with Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy.
Roger calls me 3 times. 3 times we have a discussion.
Manafort was going in there to get restaurant recommendations for a great night out in London.
It's very dishonest. Corrupt is interesting. It depends on your definition.
Because Roger wanted to explain this tweet.
That tweet settles it. To gauge what he's up to, because he has been up to so many things for so many years.
Government is getting hand in hand with someone the government also believes to be a liar and a criminal.
I haven't been a lobbyist in Washington in 20 years probably, and I have no intention of going back to that.
Manafort has lied so many times throughout his career that perhaps he's lost track of it.
All these coincidences just simply smell funny to Mueller and his team.
You better have betrayed the country, or else someone owes you a big apology. This is WikiLeaks dump.
This triangle is spinning very slowly. This is what we call a leak signature.
Collusion.
They're colluding, yeah.
Friend in embassy plans 2 more dumps of...
If the media is not going to do their job, there are going to be more WikiLeaks in the future.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Donate to No Agenda. They give us shows week after week. Donate to No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA